The main character, Eren, was cursed by an evil god as a child. Since then, there has been no place for him anywhere in the world. The winged incarnation deceived him and took away everything the hero loved so much. Since then, Eren has been turning into a dragon. He devours evil spirits to become stronger and destroy the offender. Only revenge can soothe the burning pain of life's biggest mistake. In the hero's world, there live beasts endowed with magical abilities. They are called mystical creatures. Some of them were given human form by the gods. Since then, these creatures have been protecting people. But there are also beasts that embody evil forces. They are servants of the demon god. Once upon a time, hunters went hunting in a forest. Their only prey was humans. They killed them for loot. However, this hunt was a little different from the usual. Hunters came across wolf carcasses, and among them they noticed the body of an unusually large wolf. Eren was sitting next to him. The hunters thought the boy was dead and wanted to rob him. But at that moment, one of the villains was bitten by Ruby the Lizard, the main character's companion. One of the hunters was about to kill the reptile, but as soon as he swung the knife, Eren immediately cut off his armed hand. Then the hero also struck the enemy in the face. The hunters were stunned. They immediately prepared for battle. The main character warned that nothing would work, but the hunters did not retreat. Taking up his axe, Eren rushed into the attack first. Everyone who stood in his way lost an arm or a leg. Then the crossbowmen got down to business. 3 hunters simultaneously fired arrows and hit the hero in the back. Eren's anger flared. The dragon's essence burst forth in a terrifying blaze. The hunters froze in horror. They believed that Eren was a demon god in human form. Within a few minutes, the protagonist's frightening energy disappeared. This happened because he was too exhausted from the battle with the mystical beast, the wolf. So the guy was caught. The hunters brought him along with the body of the giant beast to their settlement. Each of them claimed that Eren was the incarnation of the demon god. But the leader didn't really believe it. He wondered why the boy was killing animals, and Eren explained that he was just hungry. Then he advised the men to burn the body of the giant wolf. But they did not listen. There have long been rumors among local residents about the appearance of a demonic beast that devours corpses. But the boy knows that these people are very far from the truth. At that moment, a raven flew across the sky, and in an instant, the blood of his subject was dripping onto the leader's shoulder. The corpse of the mystical wolf came to life and began hunting. This very creature is a servant of the demon god. A few minutes later, an alarm was raised in the settlement. The deer-like creature, along with a pack of wolves, was already approaching the fortification. Simple warriors could not resist strong beasts. The fortification was almost destroyed. But the main threat was only just approaching. Eren came out to fight the horned beast. He had already taken on the form of a dragon and was ready for battle. The main character was going to absorb the evil beast and take away its power. The deer-like creature screamed, and at this sound the animals from the forest came running. As if intoxicated, they pounced on Eren. But the main character tore one after another. In a matter of seconds, the supporters of the evil beast were destroyed. The main enemy used a phantom form, and then in a fit of rage he rushed towards Eren. 2 incredible forces came together in confrontation. A few blows and Eren gained the advantage. The exhausted opponent fell to his feet. The main character took on human form. He was going to finish off his opponent. But as he got closer, he noticed a blonde girl named Nadia. She was the embodiment of nature. The image of the evil deer-like beast disappeared, and Eren realized that this person had not acted of his own free will from the very beginning. Then the boy received an unexpected blow from a raven. This bird is the one who controlled the girl's mind. The demonic beast revealed its essence and took on human form. He watched the main character as soon as he entered these territories. But Eren didn't even want to know what the enemy was up to. He wanted only one thing: to destroy the embodiment of evil. Instantly, the raven took on a phantom form. His power lies in reviving the dead. All the bodies lying nearby rose again. Now they obey the will of the servant of the demon god. An army of the dead attacked Eren from all sides. Sharp fangs and spears dug into his body. The raven hurried to kill the hero. Seeing the boy's incredible strength, the enemy was about to take possession of his body. But this was not destined to happen. The dragon's energy was unleashed again, and with incredible force Eren attacked the servant of the demon god. With his sharp teeth he tore the raven's body into pieces. The battle continued until only a bloodstain remained of the enemy. At this time Nadia came to her senses. The girl trembled in fear of Eren, who was now approaching her. She remembered that before she lost control of herself, a winged figure had appeared. The protagonist guessed that this was the very incarnation he most wanted to destroy, and Nadia was also affected by it. Aran introduced himself and said that he was a descendant of the Black Dragon. The hero spends his entire life traveling the world and devouring demons. But his main goal is to kill the winged incarnation of Remus. Nadia still didn't understand what Aran was talking about. All these events exhausted her too much, and the girl fainted. She had a nightmare. Nadia runs away from the demon god servant. A sea of blood all around, and suddenly she falls. The demon has caught up with her. That girl didn't die. In a moment, Nadia saw mountains of human corpses all around her. Their blood is on her hands. Then the winged incarnation appeared. The girl woke up. The horror instantly dissipated. She was happily greeted by a rabbit named White Paw. While Nadia was unconscious, Aran gathered all the bodies of the demons after the battle into one pile. And then Ruby the lizard spewed flames and burned everything in an instant. There was an agreement between the mystical beast White Paw and Aran regarding this battle. And so now the main character demanded payment for the performance. He was quite rude, but White Paw was used to it. What surprised her was that Nadia was the same as Aran. And until that moment, the rabbit believed that there was only one such person in the world. The main character hurried White Paw again. The rabbit took out her magic watch and pressed the button. Instantly, the ground beneath their feet caved in and all three of them flew into a deep and wide hole. Nadia braced herself for a painful fall and the landing was soft. The heroes had a beautiful view of the city of cafes, the largest in the south of the continent. But the main feature of this city is the sacred white lotus tree. The rabbit introduced herself to Nadia. She is a member of the largest information organization, Rabbit's Paws, and Aran is her longtime companion and friend. Not understanding anything, Nadia asked why she had been brought here, and then Aran decided to show it better. The heroes headed towards the city. On the way, the girl asked what kind of winged incarnation the main character was trying to find. Aran explained that this is a monster who considers himself a god. This person has the ability to empower others with great power. The heroes entered the slave market. There were people of all ages and categories. Even mystical beasts were brought to this place. Nadia didn't understand one thing, what the slave market had to do with the winged incarnation. But at that moment, Aran pushed the girl into one of the dungeons, and then he explained that all these slaves were sacrifices for the winged incarnation. This ceremony is performed at the top of a sacred tree. All slaves who are in the market will be killed there, and Nadia will become one of them. After all, Aran believes that it is better to fish with live bait. Nadia tried to make the main character change his mind. She condemned Aran's use of poor people to achieve his own goals. But the boy only said that it was impossible to take revenge without getting your hands in blood, and then he left. Nadia couldn't accept it. But White Paw decided to remind her of recent events. When the girl was under the control of the demon god, she killed many innocent people. So she shouldn't be angry with Aran and the rabbit. They do this for the sake of destroying a common enemy, an evil winged incarnation. The sacrifice at the White Lotus Temple is about to begin. During this, a battle between humans and a mystical beast will take place in the arena, and Aran will also participate in it. This is all part of the protagonist's plan, and White Paw helps to make it happen. The winged guards have already led the slaves to the ceremony. The hero's plan is to win the battle and obtain a branch of the sacred white lotus tree. Thanks to her, you won't have to wait long to meet the winged incarnation. It would be possible to attract the enemy's attention with bloody slaughter, but Aran should not cross the line. At some point, the guy may lose control, and that's why he came up with this plan. It's time to act. The main character entered the arena. Meanwhile, other fighters had already built a defensive line. The mystical beast leopard prepared to attack. And then, to everyone's surprise, Aran came out. Without armor, the boy confidently approached the leopard. The audience held their breath. The beast rushed to attack the impudent man, but Aran immediately cut off his paw. No one could believe their eyes. No human has ever been able to defeat the mystical beast on their own. But now, in front of everyone, the main character was proving his strength. And the source of this is hatred for the winged incarnation. Meanwhile, the slaves had already arrived at the top of the White Lotus. There they were met and greeted by the owner of the temple. The winged incarnation, for unknown reasons, settled on a sacred tree and began to accept sacrifices. Those who bring a living sacrifice are given the chance to participate in a battle against a mystical beast in the arena. The warrior who wins the fight will receive a lotus branch, incredible strength, and the title of Winged Sentinel. That's why White Paw and Aran decided to use Nadia as a living sacrifice. This way, the main character will be able to penetrate the White Lotus Temple. Nadia was somewhat stunned when she found out about this. She wanted to know why Aaron was so eager to kill the winged incarnation, but the rabbit couldn't say that. She knew only one thing for sure. If there is an embodiment of revenge in the world, it is definitely Aaron. The master of the White Lotus Temple introduced himself to the slaves as Balzac. Then he began a speech about salvation awaiting everyone, and that he was ready to grant it. The rite of sacrifice in his words looked like a blessing and great mercy, and so one girl dared to ask Balzac to let her sister go. The owner of the temple promised to reward her for her good intentions. But as soon as the girl believed these words, her head exploded. Nadia could barely contain her rage. Balzac continued to speak of death as liberation from fear and regret, but he promised that soon everyone would go to the other world. Nadia's energy began to release. Everyone standing behind saw the image of a giant deer skull. Rage took over the girl's mind even more. And then Balzac realized that the mystical beast of a deer had been sacrificed to him. Nadia was enveloped in black energy. The people behind her began to fear her. That energy was like a demon. When the girl realized she was losing control, she remembered all those innocent people she had killed. At that moment, a boy with blonde hair spoke to Nadia. He asked the girl not to lose. This gave Nadia the strength to chase away her rage. She activated the World Tree skill and powerful shoots instantly broke through the ground. They captured the winged sentinels, and they entwined around the people, creating a protective dome for them. Nadia prepared to protect innocent victims. But this did not at all embarrass Balzac. He was sure that the embodiment of nature could not do anything. The girl had already woven a powerful hammer from the shoots of the World Tree, and then she instantly attacked the villain. With a broad smile, Balzac accepted the challenge. This explosion was heard by everyone in the arena where the fight was taking place. But no one except the main character understood what was going on. Nadia's powerful hammer shattered into pieces, and then a giant cage appeared next to the girl. Balzac summoned his faithful servant. It was a powerful bird-like monster. The blonde boy asked Nadia to be careful, but at that moment 2 sharp spikes had already pierced the girl. A giant monster with skulls on its head and spikes on its chest prepared for battle. Meanwhile, Aaron dealt the mystical leopard beast a final blow. He won as he had planned. Immediately after the battle, winged guards entered the arena. They presented Aaron with a prize, a branch of the White Lotus. However, the main character was not the only one who really wanted this. There was another such warrior in the arena. Byrne hoped to win, but since the situation did not go according to plan, the man still did not despair. He was going to get the White Lotus branch no matter what it cost. After the injury, Nadia's condition deteriorated significantly. But the girl was not going to give up. Balzac began his song of merciful sacrifice again, and he wanted to make Nadia believe in his good intentions, taking advantage of people's desperation. That girl knew how to distinguish between mercy and cold-blooded murder. Her rage flared again. Black energy surrounded her body. But then Balzac got down to business. The roots of the sacred tree broke through inside the dome that Nadia had created, and then it pierced all the people with its sharp spires. The sacrifice took place. The same shoots dug into the body of the bird-like creature. Balzac's crazy laughter spread throughout the temple, and after that, bloody energy began to move through the roots of the White Lotus. She went to Balzac's servant and fed him. It was the energy of the dead. It is this that nourishes the sacred tree, and as long as this flow circulates, Balzac will be immortal. Strengthened by the sacrifices, the villain grabbed Nadia with the shoots of a tree. He thought he had already won. Therefore, he was in no hurry to deal with the deer, but at that moment the doors of the temple opened. The head of his winged sentry flew past Balzac, and then, like a wild beast, Aaron burst in. He stuck a branch of the White Lotus into the villain's eye. Fortunately, the main character arrived on time, and Nadia was fine. Balzac expressed his sincere surprise that someone had managed to win in the arena. He believed that no one would ever be able to reach the temple. But Aaron didn't want to listen because he was only interested in the winged incarnation, and he knew for sure that Balzac was an imposter. The scoundrel became terribly angry. He could not tolerate such depreciation and began to transform into a hawk. Aaron was also angry as he had hoped to finally reach his bitter enemy. Byrne and his warriors, meanwhile, were searching for Aaron. He wanted to take the branch of the White Lotus and complete his plan, but the boy was nowhere to be found. Advancing to the top of the sacred tree, Byrne realized that Aaron was already there. So the guy's goal is the same as his, to destroy the winged incarnation. Nadia didn't understand anything. She believed that Balzac was the one Aaron was looking for, but the boy instantly opened the girl's eyes. The main feature of the winged incarnation is the presence of 3 pairs of shining wings. That's why it got its name. and Balzac only has a hint of wings." Laughter, and that's it. Finally, Aaron said that this imposter was only good for chatting, and this finally exhausted Balzac's patience. The time for small talk is over, and the main character is attacked by winged guards. Before the battle began, Aaron released Nadia and ordered her to flee. That girl noticed a blonde boy and girl lying among the destroyed branches of the World Tree. Surprisingly, they were spared Balzac's sacrifice. While Aaron destroyed the winged guards, Nadia rushed to the children. Then a bird-like demon entered the battle. He spewed out many spires towards the main character. But Aaron, who by this point had already taken on the form of a dragon, managed to avoid the attack, and he immediately pounced on the giant monster. A bloody battle began. With a powerful blow, the main character blew off the monster's head. But at that moment, Balzac attacked him from behind. The scoundrel admitted that Aaron was strong, and so he decided to show him his true power. Balzac activated the ability. But the main character instantly grabbed his hand and was about to bite his head off. At the last minute, Balzac pushed Aaron away with his foot. The hawk chase has begun. The enemy managed to avoid defeat. But to get out of the dangerous position, he jumped up. As expected, Aaron jumped after him. And then Balzac cut off his opponent's hand. The main character screamed in pain, but in a moment his limb was restored. The scoundrel was stunned. He had never seen such rapid regeneration before. Aaron continued to attack. This time, Balzac used the shoots of a sacred tree for cover, but they did not save him from the dragon's sharp claws. Aaron cut the enemy in half. But that wasn't all. The headless body of the bird-like monster stood up and headed towards its master. In a moment, Balzac's torso merged with the body of his servant, but even this didn't make the main character stop. Balzac drew strength from his new form, but almost immediately he felt a new pain from the main character's powerful blow. To catch the dragon, Balzac used the shoots of a sacred tree. He grabbed Aaron's legs with them, and then used spike eruption to destroy the main character. However, even in such a difficult situation, the dragon found a way out, and in a moment he attacked the enemy again. Thanks to his regeneration, Aaron regained the legs he lost to escape the White Lotus's shoots. This skill made quite an impression. Then Balzac decided to use all his strength. The shoots of the sacred tree began to chase the dragon, and at that moment, Aaron realized that Balzac would live as long as the sacred tree lived. It doesn't matter how much damage the hero deals, the enemy will not die as long as the White Lotus nourishes him. And so the main character decided to destroy the plant first. Aaron struck a powerful blow to the temple ceiling. The building began to collapse. At this moment, Balzac managed to capture the main character, but then the phantom form of his curse began to break free. Dragon wings appeared. Aaron wished that all the suffering caused by Balzac would turn him to dust. The power of the hero's curse began to take effect. All the victims who were on the White Lotus began to run towards their killer. Dead bodies fell from the hole the hero had made in the ceiling, straight onto Balzac. They tore at him with their claws and tore at him with their teeth. There were so many victims that the villain was simply drowning in them. With great effort, Balzac managed to escape, and he immediately began to look for a living victim. Noticing Nadia, the scoundrel rushed after his prey. But at that moment, a crack appeared in the sky. From there came out the strongman Basheron. He is a servant of the winged incarnation. As Balzac approached Nadia, Basheron descended directly on him. He stopped the scoundrel, pinning him to the ground. Nadia couldn't understand what was happening. A moment later, Basheron knelt down and bowed. He greeted his master, a winged incarnation, and he turned out to be the same blonde boy who had supported Nadia so much in her fight against Balzac. Right before the girl's eyes, the child grew up and turned into a grown man. Meanwhile, the rabbit White Paw reported to the main office about the situation in the cage. She noticed a rift in the sky, which is an interdimensional portal, and she concluded that the winged incarnation met with Aaron because Basheron had come to help. Nadia felt very bad in the presence of such a powerful creature. A winged incarnation named Rem approached Balzac. These two were well acquainted. It was Rem who took away Balzac's wings, and he did this to punish a subject who had lost control due to false fame. Balzac was too much infatuated with the winged incarnation. But now I hated him. Rem emphasized that wings are only given to those who are worthy of ascending to heaven. For the sake of wings, Balzac sacrificed 1,000,000 lives and created a monster. But instead of a reward, Remus burned him to the ground. Only a sprig of the White Lotus remained. And it is actually just a fake, endowed with the power of the Tree of Paradise. Suddenly, the winged incarnation remembered Nadia and approached her. Aaron watched these events amidst a mountain of human corpses. He remembered the moment he first met Rem. The main character was still a child then, but he remembered well that Remus dreamed of reaching the land of the gods, and he swore that he would not stop, even if the whole world rose against him. At that time, Eren did not know that his family would suffer, and when he remembered the terrible and painful events of the past, he could not contain his anger. The dragon prepared for battle with a fierce enemy. He directed a powerful attack against the winged incarnation, but she did not achieve her goal. Basheron protected his master. Eren was burning with the desire for revenge. He was ready to destroy anyone who stood in his way. And the first obstacle was Basheron. A fierce battle began between the two. No one gave up in strength. Meanwhile, all of Rem's attention was focused on Nadia. But as soon as the winged skill was about to touch the girl, the warrior Burn immediately attacked him. Rem was already familiar with this person, and he advised the man to surrender. But then his attention was drawn to the dragon, which was putting more and more pressure on Basheron. Eren's anger grew and he began to transform. All the hatred burst out. Wings appeared. Eren transformed into a giant black dragon. Everyone except Rem was stunned by what they saw, for the winged incarnation meeting Azidahaka was not the first. Before transforming, Eren met this dragon in his subconscious. The creature called on the hero to surrender to the power of anger and destroy the one who took everything from him. The guy gave in, and that is why the spirit of the black dragon's curse was unleashed. Basheron realized that his opponent had fallen into a berserk state. However, he was not going to retreat. The black dragon attacked with flames. Basheron used a lightning strike against him. Two powerful forces exploded upon collision. Remus had to cover himself with his wings to avoid being hit. Basheron was steadfast even at the risk of turning to coal. On the other hand, the warrior Burn also did not give up trying to hit the winged incarnation. But he had just swung his weapon when Rem hit him first. Enraged, Burn began a transformation, but he was once again overtaken by the incredible power of the winged incarnation. Then Rem switched his attention to Nadi. He noticed that the girl was trembling with fear. At that moment, Nadia remembered that it was not the first time she had seen this person. When she came to her senses amidst a sea of corpses of innocent people, Rem appeared. And now he claims that Nadi was chosen as a sacred tree, as evidenced by the resonance of the branch. This thing is an artifact that grants the owner divine powers. Rem took a branch from the body of Balzac's dead bird-like monster, and he admitted that he was going to cross the border of worlds. And then, with the help of this artifact, he revived his brother, a boy named Ziz. It was created from countless lives, a child with bloodshot eyes. Meanwhile, the battle between Basheron and Azidahaka continued. But suddenly the black dragon let out a piercing cry, and then he flew high into the sky. He was going to end it all with one blow. Azidahaka formed the celestial fire jade and directed this incredible power into a winged incarnation. Rem behaved completely calmly, even when the fire approached. He knew his strength would be more than enough to withstand this, and so he calmly attacked with light in response. The main character was defeated, and the White Lotus was destroyed. White Paw instantly reported all of this to the main bureau of the Information Organization. The story of hatred in the main character's path of revenge began in childhood. Once, while hunting in the desert, a boy noticed a pack of coyotes chasing a lizard. At the last moment, Eren managed to save the reptile from death. He threw his axe at the predatory animal, and then he dealt her a fatal blow. The rest of the pack scattered. Since then, the lizard has followed the main character everywhere. At first, Eren was angry and tried to drive the animal away. In response, the lizard spewed flames. The main character was amazed, but in a moment he sensed danger. The boy was found by a giant mystical rhinoceros beast. The main character tried his best to escape from the animal. Fortunately, there was a small cliff nearby. Eren jumped down without hesitation, and the rhinoceros was stopped by such a height. However, the animal was not going to retreat, and Eren threatened to show her the full power of the true descendant of the Black Dragon. Not far from the scene of the incident was sitting Rem. He approached the boy to help. With just one look, the man made the mystical beast leave. As a sign of gratitude, the main character brought the savior to his tribe. Aranna was met by his sister and expressed her concerns about the boy's travels through dangerous territory. The main character introduced the girl to Rem. Eren was also worried about his sister, because she had an incurable disease, and so I hurried to calm her down. For his good deed, Rem was hospitably received in the settlement. During the conversation, the leader managed to find out what brought the man to the Red Desert, and Rem said that he was a researcher. He's interested in unknown territories, local legends, and animals. The man has been traveling and collecting information for a long time. When he heard that the incarnation of the god Manhwa had settled in this desert, he immediately arrived here. Rem is looking for the black dragon Azzi-Dahak. There are 6 incarnations in the world who have received divine power. Azzi-Dahaka was the first among them. She is still considered the largest and strongest. This is the embodiment of a demon who is feared and worshipped. A week passed. Before leaving, Rem prepared a healing drink for Erin's sister. He assured her that after this the girl would feel better. Impressed by the kindness of the unknown explorer, Erin decided to guide him. The sister, as always, asked the main character to be careful. The tribe members were kind of tense that day. Soon Erin and Rem reached the river. After catching fish, they both sat down to eat dinner. There was no shortage of conversation. Rem learned that Erin was going hunting secretly from his sister so that she wouldn't worry. The boy's parents died of illness when he was still an infant. Therefore, since then, the sister has been taking care of the main character. He in turn goes hunting to secure food for the winter. This was an uncomfortable topic for Erin, so he began to question Rem about his research. The man admitted that he didn't manage to learn much. It seems to him that the tribe is hiding something. The locals are descendants of the Black Dragon. They told a story about how the tribe was once attacked by invaders. But Azzi-Dahaka destroyed them all with a scorching flame, but that's all. Rem confessed that he wanted to find the treasures of the god. These are objects that are the source of power for the 6 incarnations. If someone can find all 6 treasures, they will become an incredibly powerful creature. Impressed by the story, Erin assumed he knew of one such treasure, and he unintentionally said this. It was the tribe's secret. Rem began to ask the boy more questions, and Erin shared the story his sister had told him. After expelling the invaders, the Black Dragon could not stop. Rage blinded the creature's mind, and it turned the desert into mountains of ash. Then Azzi-Dahaka gave one of her scales to her descendants to restrain her. Having shared the source of her power, the dragon herself fell into a deep sleep. After that, people built a temple called Dragon's Crevice. The tribe's best warriors guard the place so that no thief steals the scales. After finishing his story, Erin warned that he was not going to show where the temple was located. But Rem decided to take advantage of the child's naivety. He asked the boy to go with him to another place. On the way, the man thought everything through. And there, on the mountain, Rem said that the cause of Sister Erin's illness was the curse of the Black Dragon. Azzi-Dahaka is a servant of the demon god who inflicts mortal torment. Rem blamed the dragon for the fact that Erin's parents were dead, and his sister was doomed to suffering. He made the main character believe this. And then he gave the boy a sacred flower and said that with its help the curse could be lifted. If the plant is brought to the treasure of the tribe's guardian, Sister Erin's illness will disappear. The guy understood that in this case he would be violating the ban. Rem left the choice to the main character. After all, he was sure that the guy would make the right decision for him. That night, Erin did not return to his settlement. The main character's absence was noticed by his sister. The girl went out into the courtyard and saw a tall pillar of light coming out of the Black Dragon's gorge. Shortly before this, Erin had brought Rem to the temple of Azzi-Dahaka. The security guards reacted hostilely to the man who approached without any explanation. But Rem quickly dealt with the strongest people of the protagonist's tribe. Behind him followed the main character with a sacred flower in his hands. The boy was full of desire to cure his sister. Inside the temple, Remus just as quickly eliminated the guards. In a few minutes, the man and Erin approached the treasure. The researcher involuntarily began to laugh with satisfaction. Before him lay the last of the god's necessary items, the scales of a black dragon. Together with the hero was the lizard Ruby. The reptile felt threatened from the very beginning but couldn't say. Erin had doubts about whether his action would help cure his sister. And only then did Rem admit that he had deceived the little one. Then he grabbed the hero by the hands and brought the flower closer to the scales. The plant began to absorb the energy of the sacred object, and then everything flashed in a bright pillar of light. This is exactly what Sister Erin saw. A moment later, an earthquake began. The black dragon felt someone touch its scales and woke up. Having split the ground, he climbed out of his lair. And then he headed to the temple to destroy the fool who wanted to seize divine power. The powerful stream of light that appeared after the reunion of the flower and the scales deprived the protagonist of his hands. Now the deceived and wounded boy watched in despair the consequences of his wrong decision. And Remus, meanwhile, was triumphant, having received a flower endowed with the power of all 6 deities. Thanks to her, he will be able to travel between worlds, as he dreamed. To complete the ritual, the man stuck a sharp stalk into his chest. Instantly, the plant sprouted and endowed its owner with divine energy. Then Dahaka arrived. He asked the name of the scoundrel who had touched his scales. Rem introduced himself. Then his body underwent a transformation and he turned into a winged incarnation. Aaron didn't understand what was happening. A monster with 3 pairs of wings was flying in the sky. Rem acted as if he had already won the upcoming battle. And all because the black dragon, along with part of its scales, lost its famous power. The villain was the first to attack the treasure keeper. Dahaka became even angrier. She unleashed the fire of rage upon the enemy. The battle was intensifying. Flying into the air, the black dragon generated fiery meteorites and launched them at the villain. But he neutralized the attack with the help of the power of light. The demon's claws were the next attempt to strike Rem. Sharp, red-hot spires flew straight at the winged embodiment, and he responded by sending blades of light. They reached the black dragon and struck it. That powerful flash of light was seen by the entire tribe. By that time, no one was asleep. With great effort, Aaron stood up. Not far from him, the mortally wounded Dahaka fell, and Rem savored victory. Satisfied that he had managed to rip out the black dragon's heart, the scoundrel laughed, and after that he went to heaven. Aaron was praying for forgiveness at this time. He begged Dahak to forgive him for this act and tried to explain why he had done so. But the black dragon didn't want to listen. Before her death, she cursed the main character. Dahak's body was reduced to ashes, and after that, an evil god appeared. A terrible monster with fiery wings flew into the air. Aaron realized that she was heading towards the settlement. The boy tried with all his might to run there and warn his sister, but the spirit of Dahak was already mercilessly burning all the people of the tribe. Everyone died, to the last one. After that, the evil spirit returned to the boy and swallowed him. But the hero's body has absorbed the spirit of the curse. Aaron felt terrible pain in every cell of his body. My heart felt like it was breaking. A ferocious beast has taken up residence in the main character's body. From now on, death and misfortune will follow Aaron everywhere. Many years after these events, the main character finally met his sworn enemy. However, he was defeated in the battle at the White Lotus Temple. At this point, Remus was about to return to his pantheon. Basheron created a spatial rift, but Nadia delayed the winged incarnation with a question. From Ananta's words, the girl knows that Rem is a vile creature who considers himself a god, and the creation of Ziz confirms this fact. Nadia doesn't remember what happened before meeting the winged incarnation, and so she would like to know if she is the same as Ziz. Rem remembered the boy Aran, thanks to whom he found the last treasure of the gods, but he didn't give Nadia a clear answer, only said that he was looking forward to their next meeting. The winged incarnation had enough enemies. Even an entire organization, Levatine, was formed against him. This includes the warrior Byrne, who fought in the cafe's arena and tried to destroy Remus. The queen of the organization is Regelsa. It was to her that Nadi came to meet with Byrne. Then, after the battle at the White Lotus Temple, the warrior invited the girl and her team to Levatine. Nadi guessed that Byrne was actually interested in Aaron's power. The rabbit Whitepaw disappeared somewhere. The embodiment of nature could also simply leave, however, she had a personal interest, and it consists of meeting the queen of the destroyed kingdom of Valkyrie, a country of warrior women. Regelsa was happy to meet Byrne. He brought bad news, as he had been defeated in battle against the winged incarnation. But the man is ready to continue working to destroy the villain. At the same time, Byrne reported that he had discovered another group that was working to destroy Rem. Nadia was very helpful in treating the warrior's wounds, which is why he invited her group. Aaron was dubbed a barbarian. His condition is extremely serious, so the boy is under the supervision of a doctor. There was another ordinary girl with these two. She was also given help. Regelsa was happy with her new allies, but she was interested in the motive of these people. And Nadia admitted that she was ready to help if Levatine would tell her everything she knew about the branch in her chest. Then the magical animal wolf, which is the girl Lupa, intervened in the conversation. She admitted that she smelled the stench of the winged incarnation as soon as Nadia crossed the threshold. It turns out that the branch in the girl's chest is Rem's magical artifact, and it has resonated strongly since Nadia met the winged incarnation. Regelsa noticed a great deal of luck in this. If Rem is really looking for the deer, then this is a great opportunity to catch him. Suddenly, the queen was informed of an emergency. Aaron raged in the residential area. When the main character was unconscious, he had a dream. More precisely, they were memories from a terrible past. Aaron felt the evil spirit consuming him again. Then his consciousness became clouded and he stopped feeling his own body. the boy turned into a fiery dragon. Noticing the burning settlement, the main character ran there with all his might. But there was no one alive there anymore. Aaron screamed from the unbearable pain. Only then did the image of the dragon begin to disappear. The only thing left are his hands. The curse restored the protagonist's lost limbs. Aaron set out in search of his sister. He quickly came across the girl's charred body and fell to his knees in front of her. And then he took his sister in his arms and screamed wildly. Then a representative of the information organization Rabbit's Paws appeared. It was she who introduced the hero to the emblem by which the winged incarnation can be found. Aaron came to his senses in an unfamiliar place. The hero had tears in his eyes from the nightmare. Nearby sat a mystical animal, a mouse. The main character jumped up abruptly, and immediately blood gushed from his nose and mouth. Aaron tried to stand up but fell. He was still too weak, but he couldn't waste time. The mouse immediately jumped out of the room. Meanwhile, Aaron got up and went outside. He immediately noticed that this settlement was underground. After a few steps, the hero was stopped by female warriors. Aaron asked to be let go, but at that moment a man named Un walked by. The protagonist noticed a familiar emblem on his hand. He knew well that this sign belonged to the winged incarnation, and so he touched the stranger's shoulder to find out how he was involved with Rem. Only the man reacted too sharply to it. He immediately swung his sword in the hero's face, and then he warned Aaron not to make any sudden movements. Only the hero did not hesitate and swung his fist in response. Barely dodging, Owl realized that Aaron was extremely strong. The main character is in serious condition, but is able to radiate incredible strength. Aaron asked if the emblem on Owl's hand had anything to do with the winged incarnation. But instead of explanations, he received a challenge to battle. Owl tried to hit the protagonist with his sword, but he skillfully dodged. This continued until Aaron found himself at a dead end. Then the hero had to defend himself. He held out his hands in front of him, which had already taken on the shape of a dragon, and then he attacked the enemy. Owl was once again forced to dodge the hero's numerous attacks. But choosing the right moment, the man struck. He pierced Aaron's chest with his sword. However, the main character did not die. An evil spirit was released. The owl jumped back to a safe distance. The transformation into a dragon has begun. The people around were frightened by this image. Even Owl felt fear of the main character. But member Levatine didn't have to fight him. Queen Regelsa arrived to help. The woman wounded the dragon. Then she warned that she would be forced to kill the rebel if he continued to fight. Nadi asked not to do this, but Regelsa wanted above all to protect her people. Then the unexpected happened. The dragon grabbed the edges of its wound with its claws and began to tear it apart. The sight was horrific. This continued until the spirit of the curse disappeared. Aaron returned to human form and immediately fell to the ground unconscious. The main character was imprisoned and assigned a guard. Nadia was also under security guard supervision, and in Levatine, a meeting began to decide the future fate of these two. The meeting was attended by 4 commanders and the queen. The fourth of them, the embodiment of savagery, Lupa, insisted on killing a dangerous monster. Owl, the embodiment of swordsmanship and third commander of Levatine, had a different idea. He proposed using Aaron's power for his own purposes. The second in command, the embodiment of success, Tarkhan, was neutral towards Aaron. And Byrne, who is the first commander and the embodiment of valor, insisted on an alliance with the main character. He had seen with his own eyes the extent of Aaron's hatred for the winged incarnation. But this did not convince Lupa at all. The girl tried to prove to her friends that this union was dangerous, and she couldn't believe that the queen was leaning towards Byrne's opinion. Owl also sided with the first commander. He still remembered how he felt when he saw the main character's transformation. Regelsa made a decision. After that, she invited Whitepaw into the hall. The rabbit introduced herself. Along with her came the magical animal mouse Rachel. Owl was very happy with the appearance of the little one. Her absence made the third commander quite worried. Before Byrne returned from his mission, Whitepaw came to Regelsa. She told me about everything that happened later. That's why the queen believed her. Whitepaw offered Aaron's power in exchange for Levatine's cooperation with the information organization. Meanwhile, another rabbit, Blackfoot, came to Aaron's dungeon, and she released him. When Whitepaw was presenting the main character as the embodiment of revenge, Aaron himself entered the hall. The Levatine leadership was stunned, as this person should have been in prison, but the hero's lizard, Ruby, was the most surprised. The reptile was brought to the hall by the mouse, Rachel. But when Ruby saw Aaron, she ran to him as fast as she could. And the main character, meanwhile, declared that he would be the one to kill the winged incarnation. Lupa prepared to deal with the fugitive. She didn't know that Aaron managed to escape prison thanks to Blackpaw, who hypnotized the guard. But Regelsa stopped her subject. She drew attention to the scarred body of the protagonist. Beneath it lies a cruel life. The queen had never seen anything like it. Whitepaw began to talk about Aaron, but the main character immediately reminded him that he was not her property. Then Blackpaw appeared. She tried to calm Aaron, and the rabbit succeeded. Regelsa reported that her commanders are people united by their hatred of the winged incarnation. Owl was once part of a clan that followed Rem, but they were all wiped out. After that, he swore revenge and burned the emblem of the winged incarnation on his arm. Therefore, the queen accepted Ul into Levatine. Regelsa wondered what power gave the hero the confidence that he could defeat the winged incarnation, and the boy explained that he was under the curse of dark spirits. The more magical beasts he absorbs, the stronger he becomes. Therefore, his capabilities are unlimited. After hunting the beasts, Aran will gain new powers and skills. Therefore, it is better for Levatine to unite with him. The hero's audacity became yet another test for Lupa. Regelsa reacted to this in a completely different way. She liked the hero's explanation. Moreover, she announced that Levatine was uniting with the embodiment of vengeance. At this time, Basheron arrived at the pantheon of the winged incarnation. Rem, along with his subjects, celebrated the birth of a new incarnation of Ziz. The child was just savoring the mystical prey. And the winged incarnation had another thing planned for that day. Basheron opened the spatial door. Behind them was a gorge of evil spirits. Rem began to speak to those looking down at him. He knew that each of them had been rejected by the gods. No one will be able to return to their original form. Rem said he was outside all these laws. He is the one who will inherit the horizon of the world, which opens the way to the territory of the gods. And he gives the demonic creatures one last chance to prove their abilities. Remus promised to give wings to the strongest of them. The animals react instantly. Everyone wanted to get out of their hideous appearance. A bloody battle began. This is exactly what the winged incarnation wanted. Rem laughed loudly while the evil spirits fought with their blood and lives for the right to wings. And in Levatine, the queen invited Nadia to the main hall. The embodiment of nature was surprised at how quickly Aaron stabilized, and only then did I realize that it was the work of rabbits. At this point, only Commander Byrne and the queen remained in the discussion room. Regelsa announced that she was ready to accept Nadia and Aaron into Levatine. But the main character reminded him that he was not going to make an alliance with them. It was only a temporary agreement. Nadia wanted an explanation about the branch inside her. It turns out that this artifact is part of the world tree. Thanks to him, the winged incarnation is able to turn a monster into an incarnation. This is exactly what happened in the cafe at the top of the White Lotus when Ziz appeared. The branch is able to change even the most disgusting creatures and give them the form of incarnation. So Nadia was also such a creature. And now it belongs to the winged incarnation. Thanks to this ability, Rem can even turn the incarnation of a god into an evil spirit. Regelsa had seen this with her own eyes. This happened when the Valkyrie was destroyed. The guardian of the kingdom suddenly turned into an evil spirit thanks to a winged incarnation. Arn couldn't believe it. He thought Nadia couldn't even kill a bug, and therefore she definitely cannot be a follower of Remus. But Byrne explained that this is what makes Nadia special. Perhaps it is closest to the horizon of a world that is seeking a winged incarnation. This spatial gap appears with the birth of the world tree. Remus seeks to penetrate the world of the gods through this gap, and therefore he creates incarnations that can later become seedlings of the world tree. The power of the branch is so great that ordinary creatures cannot resist it. Only a few are capable of managing it. To investigate Rem's lineage, Queen Levatine needs the help of Nadia and Aran. Together they will be able to defeat the guardian of the royal family, who has turned into an evil spirit. At the general meeting, Regelsa announced the plan of action for Operation Valkyrie Liberation. The first to set foot on the land of the pass will be the detachments commanded by Owl and Lupa. They will clear the area for the rest of the army. Byrne and Tarkin remain in Levatine. They will protect civilians who will be transferred to a secret fortification. 3 days before, Whitepaw explained the whole situation to Nadia. The protagonist's joining Levatine was part of her plan. The only surprise for the rabbit was that Nadia also decided to stay. Levatine is the strongest organization fighting against the winged incarnation, and therefore they will be a great help to the main character. Aran's special feature is that he gains strength by devouring evil spirits. But if he doesn't do this for a long time, he will lose his mind and turn into a monster. Blackpaw is also a member of the information organization. Thanks to hypnosis, she manages to curb Aaron's madness. But this cannot last long. It is necessary to find the evil spirit as soon as possible in order to feed it to the main character and suppress the curse. Since Nadi decided to stay, White Paw offered her an alliance, and for cooperation, the embodiment of nature will receive a guarantee of safety. But Nadia was quick to refuse. She is ready to help just so she can never see people being sacrificed again. And fighting against the winged incarnation is her desire. So making an alliance is irrelevant. Having reached an agreement, Whitepaw explained the Queen's plan of action. Regelza seeks to reclaim Valkyrie. Currently, the lands of the pasture are guarded by an alicorn, the embodiment of immortality. This unicorn was one of the 6 first incarnations that protected the kingdom. But after meeting the winged incarnation, he transformed into an evil spirit. In the Valkyrie campaign, the Queen wants to kill the alicorn and seize information about the branch. Aaron found this task quite simple. 3 days later, the Levatine army prepared for the campaign. Whitepaw opened a portal that would transport the warriors to the lands of the pass. The commanders of the Lupa and Owl detachments called on their men to fight. Aaron couldn't wait any longer. He felt like he could kill anyone right now. The teleportation has begun. The first to set foot on the land of Valkyrie were Lupa and Owl. And there they were immediately met by a hideous horned monster. Nadi used her powers against it. The shoots of the World Tree intertwined and attacked the enemy creature. But that wasn't enough. The embodiment of nature was defeated in the fight. At this moment, Aaron appeared. With incredible speed, he dealt with the monster. The rest is just to watch. The mission of the 3rd and 4th commanders is to clear the area. The place before the entrance to the Iron Forest was chosen as a base for the army. It is located quite far from the main Valkyrie castle. The warriors will have to go through the Iron Forest and a little more across the plain to reach their goal. In the past, these territories were inhabited by spirits who protected the kingdom from attackers. But now they have become evil. Monsters in the form of dead horses are the first enemies the warriors will have to face. To save troops, it would be better to move closer to the castle. But Whitepaw's ability is limited to moving to the safest area, and so Levatine will have to fight his way through hordes of monsters. The support of Nadia and Aaron is of great importance in this operation. Lupa refused to believe that they couldn't cope without these two, but Regelza gave the order to cooperate. The first monster killed was immediately burned by Ruby the Lizard. Everyone was waiting for the Queen to arrive. Only Lupa's thoughts were occupied with Aaron. She didn't even try to hide her displeasure. The embodiment of savagery considers Aaron's presence disrespectful to the comrades who abandoned them earlier. After all, a friend is someone you can trust with your life. Lupa wasn't going to fight side by side with a man about whom nothing was known. Taking advantage of Regelza's absence, she tried to influence the main character. She said that Aaron could do nothing without his guardian Blackpaw. In the battle against the monster, the boy constantly restrained his strength so as not to fall into madness. And it's like dealing with a bomb that could explode at any moment. Aaron asked Lupa to stop, but she didn't stop. The embodiment of savagery tried to drive the hero away, threatening to tear him apart, and then Aaron could barely contain his anger. Fortunately, Blackpaw intervened and used his power. Having succumbed to hypnosis, Lupa seemed to have entered a place from her terrible past. She saw mountains of corpses before her again. It was then that the embodiment of savagery met Regelza. At this time, Blackpaw tried to calm the main character, but Aaron instantly pushed her aside. He was saving a rabbit from a giant snake that had approached imperceptibly. The reptile instantly swallowed the main character and Lupa. Owl called for warriors to help, but at that moment a herd of dead horses approached. Nadi instantly activated the World Tree skill. Sharp shoots broke through the ground and crippled the first monsters. The warriors instantly prepared for battle. The snake, with Lupa and Aaron in its belly, crawled into the forest. Strong digestive muscles squeezed the prey. Lupa was unconscious. Digestive juice began to be secreted. Then Aaron plunged his sharp claws into the reptile's flesh. In a moment, he tore open her stomach and managed to get out. After a while, Lupa came to her senses. The digestive juice damaged her clothes. Aaron received burns. Only then does the embodiment of savagery realize that it has survived thanks to the main character. Aaron's regeneration was too slow. In this state, it will be difficult for him to move for some time. Suddenly, the guy grabbed Lupa by the hand and pulled her towards him. Other snakes had already arrived and were looking for prey. The main character felt anxious. It seemed to him that there was a demon or an evil spirit somewhere nearby, but he cannot use his power without Blackpaw for fear of falling into madness. It was necessary to find a way out of the situation. Aaron left the choice to the girl. There weren't many options. If you procrastinate, you can get caught up in the environment. And so Lupa decided to use her combat uniform to escape. She turned into a wolf and carried the main character on her back. Giant snakes rushed to catch up with them. Those who stood in the way, Lupa tore apart with her fangs. The heroes managed to break away. But as soon as they left the forest, an unpleasant surprise awaited them. The servant of the winged incarnation, the Lord of Snakes, used his power. Black poisonous snakes crawled out of the ground. Lupa grabbed Aaron's hand with her teeth and threw him aside. At that moment, the snakes bit into the wolf's neck. The enraged protagonist instantly rushed to help. With his sharp claws, he cut down all the reptiles. The wolf form dissipated and Lupa returned to human form. But the poison made the girl's body weak. Then Aaron could no longer contain his rage. Meanwhile, the warriors of Levatine fought against evil spirits. Owl destroyed dead horses without much effort. Nadi also did a great job with the World Tree shoots. No one was seriously injured. Only Owl noticed something strange about the attack of the dead horses. They seemed to be running away from predatory animals, like the snake that swallowed Aaron and Lupa. There was no time for reflection. Blackpaw asked the warriors to hurry up with the search for the main character. At this time, Aaron tried to suck the poison out of Lupa's wound. But the Snake Lord Aizen only mocked these attempts. It was the poison of his double, capable of killing even a demonic beast. Without the help of a healer, no one can cope with it. Aaron asked Lupa to wait. He was going to flay the embodiment of Aizen's blind faith and then deliver the girl to Blackpaw. The main character unleashed the curse. Seeing the dragon's account, the Snake Lord understood who he was dealing with. He also activated his power and aimed the snakes at the enemy. But Aaron cut through each of them with lightning speed. Aizen felt how fast his enemy was. Immediately after that, the main character dealt a devastating blow to the snake doll, and then to the very embodiment of blind faith. Aizen took on the form of a reptile and grabbed the protagonist by the hand. Overcoming the terrible pain, Lupa forced herself to get up. She saw that Aaron was fighting for her. And I remembered Regelza. The queen was always ready to give her life for Lupa. This is where the essence of a comrade is manifested. And so the girl gathered her strength and put on her combat uniform again. Now she wasn't afraid to give her life for her friend. Lupa rushed to attack Aizen. With one blow, she cut off the enemy's hand. Then she pounced on him in a second attack and inflicted countless wounds with her claws. Lupa used up her last strength, after which she fainted. Before Aizen could recover from these attacks, the mouth of Aaron's curse opened upon him. The sinister energy practically consumed the Snake Lord. The branch bestowed by the winged incarnation broke. At the last moment, the enemy called for help from a pterosaur. The winged creature saved its master and carried him to the castle tower of the Valkyrie kingdom. Aizen failed the mission, expelling the conquerors. When the hero swallowed part of the Snake Lord's branch, he felt that he wanted more. He barely held back a curse. Aaron knew that if this power broke out, it would devastate everything around it. At the moment when there was no longer any strength to resist, Lupa intervened in the battle. Before losing consciousness, the girl asked the hero to finish the job. The desire to devour the evil spirit that was fleeing was driving Aaron crazy. It was so strong that the hero already had wings. But at that moment he remembered Lupa's request, and it brought the hero to his senses. Instead of chasing Aizen, Aaron used his wings to save Lupa. Thanks to the power of Nadi, the embodiment of savagery was cured. Lupa came to, although she felt terrible. She was stunned by the main character's action and for some reason called him an idiot. It was hard to believe that Aaron would actually overcome the curse and save her. To keep Lupa from worrying about nonsense, the embodiment of revenge said that he did not consider her a debtor. The girl was ashamed of her bad attitude towards Aaron, but she couldn't admit it. After these events at the evening campfire, Owl thanked the main character for saving his comrade. And Aaron reported that he met one of Rem's servants in the forest. He tried to drive away the invaders, but when he failed to do so, the attacker fled. The part of the branch that the main character swallowed gave roots, and Blackpaw noticed this immediately. Aaron's curse has stabilized. The rabbit wondered what the effect would be if the boy swallowed an entire branch. Suddenly, Owl announced that the Lord of Snakes occupies the 6th place of the Sephiroth. This title is given only to the most powerful individuals who guard the winged incarnation. There are 10 Sephiroth, 5 of them are disciples, and above them are 5 assistants. The power possessed by a higher disciple is similar to that of an expert capable of causing natural disasters. The appearance of Aizen indicates that another Sephiroth may appear. Owl's assumption turned out to be true. The second most powerful Sephiroth, the embodiment of Gon's conquest, arrived at the tower of Valkyrie Castle. After defeating the Snake Lord, he decided to take on the task himself. The winged incarnation knew about the Queen's plans in advance. There is a spy among the members of Levatine, and so Rem summoned the second place of the Sephiroth Gon and the sixth place, the Lord of Snakes. He gave the task of driving the invaders out of the lands of the Passa. There is already a guard there, the Unicorn Alicorn, but the strength of a being that has an imperfect branch is not enough. Basheron warned that among the warriors of Levatine is Aaron. He managed to kill Balzac, so we must be careful. Gayhan happily accepted the task. Azen agreed to help him. Only the Serpent Lord did not understand why Remus decided to send the very embodiment of conquest. Gon is undoubtedly the strongest shield of the Sephiroth. Basheron is an unrivaled spear. Together these two have incredible power. But according to Azen, Gon is not loyal to the winged incarnation. A fourth or fifth place force would be sufficient to accomplish this mission. But for some reason, Remus decided to send the embodiment of conquest. Arriving at the castle tower, Gon used an imperfect branch to reinforce the alicorn. The artifact's action flashed with a bright glow. Gon couldn't wait to meet the main character. Meanwhile, all preparations for the Levatine army were completed. Whitepaw teleported the Queen with the rest of the army to the land of the pass. Regelza immediately thanked her comrades for their good work. She expressed special gratitude to Nadia and Aaron. The Queen was ready to liberate her lands. Whitepaw warned that in the event of a retreat it would take 3 days to teleport all the warriors. But this still did not change the Queen's intention. Regelza was aware of the appearance of a bright light within the kingdom's castle. Blackpaw reported this immediately. Such activity indicates that the winged incarnation has prepared for invasion. But Regelza's decision was unshakable. She seeks to liberate her homeland. She wants to prove that the deaths of the warriors who gave their lives for Valkyrie were not in vain, and all the subjects supported their queen. The army went on a campaign. Only rabbits remained at the base. Their mission is to secure a path for retreat. Blackpaw was a little upset that she wouldn't be able to watch Aran. But the rabbits accomplished the main task. For both of them, the outcome of the campaign doesn't matter. Their main wish is for Aaron to become stronger. The Levatine army slowly but surely advanced towards the central part of the Passlands. Thanks to their joint efforts, they managed to destroy giant snakes. But Regelza had an uneasy feeling. She didn't understand why evil spirits and alicorns weren't appearing. Meanwhile, Aaron did not take part in the battle. He was saving his strength for a stronger opponent, and Ruby repelled the snake attacks with fire. Soon, Regelza's army managed to reach the kingdom's tower. The Snake Lord was already waiting there. Mir, Levatine's best archer, immediately hit the enemy with an arrow, but he managed to repel the attack. After that, Azen summoned his pterosaur. On its tail, the creature carried some kind of bullet-shaped substance. The army, by order of the Queen, took a defensive position. Right in front of them, the pterosaur dropped its load. The bloody mass crashed to the ground, but in a second, a terrible monster resembling a centaur emerged from it. Regelza realized that this creature was the same guardian of the royal family, the alicorn. The monster opened its mouth and shouted something in an incomprehensible language. And then it exploded into a bloody mass. The sticky clots reached the warriors of Levatine. Those who tried to help their comrades also got stuck in the crowd. Within minutes, a unicorn formed from the blood clot. The giant monster immediately rushed to attack. But a worthy opponent emerged against her. Aaron stopped the creature. Owl and Lupa attacked the monster from the sides. But the Queen herself wanted to deal with the traitor. Aaron jumped up to deliver a powerful blow to the monster. The alicorn used the Quasar ability. The black hole's energy reached the main character and tore his body apart. Lupa was going to take revenge on the unicorn, but he turned his tentacles against her. Luckily, Owl was nearby. He instantly cut off the disgusting appendages and protected the she-wolf. Lupa attacked again, but the pterosaur's power was immediately directed at her. The poisonous mass flew straight at Lupa. At the last moment, Owl pushed the girl away, but was injured himself. The Lord of the Snakes sought to destroy the she-wolf because it was she who had deprived him of his hand. And so he ordered the pterosaur to attack again with poison. This time, Lupa didn't hesitate. She took the form of a wolf and saved Owl. At this point, the pterosaur's wing was damaged. Archer Mur used the power of free wind and fired an arrow at the monster. Azen was simply furious. He transformed into a snake, but he failed to use his power. Lupa and Owl climbed up the tower. The embodiment of the art of swordsmanship immediately struck. Azen lost another arm. Owl also had a setback. His sword broke. The warriors below tried to deal with the pterosaur, which was now unable to fly. and Nadi put all her strength into healing Aaron. At this time, Regelsa engaged in battle with the alicorn. Her subjects adopted a defensive stance, but the unicorn easily scattered the warriors. Regelsa struck again, and she asked Nadia to hurry up with Aaron's treatment, because without him, this battle cannot be won. And then the queen used her full power. This was Fragorak's skill. The sword's flame energy hit the ugly creature. The image of the unicorn disappeared. In its place appeared the human figure of the alicorn. Only the image that Regelsa had always admired was gone, and not a trace remained. Now the former guardian of the kingdom was a monster. Regelsa raised her weapon to finish off the traitor. She froze in place when the alicorn addressed her by name. A memory from childhood came to mind. Young Regelsa climbed to the highest point of Valkyrie's castle. She felt no fear at all. Alicorn was nearby. The princess believed that he would always be there, and the embodiment of immortality assured her of this. But life took a different turn. The alicorn's consciousness returned too late. He didn't understand why Princess Regelsa looked like a warrior. But when he looked at himself, he was even more surprised. The alicorn's memories end at the moment of meeting the winged incarnation. The royal family was murdered. Only young Regelsa and a few servants remained alive. Then Rem took the divine treasure, the horn, from the alicorn. Young Regelsa tried to stop the winged incarnation, but the villain used the power of light. All of the princess's subjects were killed in an instant. Miraculously, Regelsa survived. The power of the winged incarnation only struck the girl's eye. The alicorn's consciousness clouded again. Remus's branch caused the embodiment of immortality to transform into a hideous creature. Nadi instantly took Regelsa away from the monster with the help of the World Tree's shoots. The girl insisted on leaving the battlefield, but Regelsa was determined to kill the Valkyrie guardian who had reached her limit. At this moment, Ruby came to the aid of the injured Aaron. The lizard wanted to do something for his friend, and she succeeded. Ruby united with the main character. Aaron received the power of fire and was ready to enter battle. Ruby's power is similar to that of the archer Myrrh. Forming a ball of fire, the dragon threw it at the guardian of the kingdom. At this time, Alicorn formed Quasar. Two powerful forks met, but the fire attack was stronger. Aaron rushed at his opponent and struck him again. The force of the flames severely damaged the enemy's body. Almost a skeleton remained from the embodiment of immortality. Then Nadi came into action. She grabbed the alicorn with the shoots of the World Tree. Regelsa prepared to take her revenge. The energy of the queen's sword reached the very heavens. Even after everything that had happened, Regelsa considered the alicorn a friend, and so before the final blow she wished him to rest in peace. The darkness over the lands of the Pa began to lift. The guardian spirit of Valkyrie appeared to the queen. He was just as bright and kind as Regelsa remembered him. The alicorn admitted that he always wanted to be on her side and apologized for his weakness. The queen could not hold back her tears. At this point, Aaron expressed his surprise at Ruby's strength. He had no idea that a lizard was capable of such a thing. All that remained of the alicorn was an imperfect branch. This loss is quite painful for the queen, but there is no time to shed tears. To ensure that the sacrifices are not in vain, it is necessary to continue the path of struggle. The warriors destroyed the pterosaur and rejoiced in their victory. The Serpent Lord was still alive, but Lupa was not going to spare him. Suddenly, Owl announced that the battle was not over yet. One of the Sephiroth arrived on the land of the Pasa. Gon, the embodiment of conquest, was heading towards the protagonist. He didn't even try to avoid the obstacle in his path, the tower. With a strong body, the enemy forced his way through the structure. But Sephiroth's rapid run was stopped by the protagonist's fist. Owl was right when he spoke about the possibility of one of Rem's top disciples appearing. Aaron wondered if this person was as strong as Basheron. The enemy was confident of his victory, but the main character wasn't going to give in either. Two opponents met in battle. Then the embodiment of conquest felt the powerful energy of Aaron. Gon used the skill destruction of a great mountain. This was enough to throw the main character some distance away. Aaron realized that he couldn't do it without Ruby's help. The lizard shared its power again. Powerful flame energy erupted from the dragon's mouth. It was such a powerful attack that Nadia and Regelsa had to hide behind the shoots of the World Tree. The protagonist's current state has surpassed the possibilities of embodiment. The attack hit the enemy directly. It never occurred to anyone that they could survive something like that. But Gahan succeeded. His body remained unharmed. Moreover, the enemy was sincerely glad that he had found a worthy opponent. Ruby's strength has reached its limit. Aaron did not want to harm the lizard, so he gave up its power. Now he will fight alone. The enemy has taken up battle form. An armadillo will fight against a dragon. The forces of the opponents were practically equal. Several powerful clashes brought no advantage to anyone. Then Gon used the skill Meteor Strike and managed to injure the main character. Aaron's rage began to grow. He struck many blows at the enemy, but there was not a single scratch left on his body. Having expended a lot of energy, the main character missed the shot. The powerful enemy force pushed Aaron back to the tower. Watching the battle, Regelsa marveled at the hero's regenerative abilities. He is not afraid of wounds and has an unyielding will of heart. The dragon's form fully reflects Aaron's fighting spirit and will. Suddenly, the queen's attention was drawn to Nadia. The girl showed the branch that turned the alicorn into a monster. Meanwhile, Aaron analyzed the enemy. Gon is like an iron fortress that will never collapse. But the hero knew well that even such a thing had a weak spot. Friends came to Aaron's aid. Lupa grabbed the Snake Lord and brought it to the hero for food. The curse broke free and opened its mouth. Now Aaron has absorbed an entire branch of evil spirit. Power filled the hero's body. He gained the ability of sacrifice and changed his form again. Now the poisonous snakes obey the main character. The second round of the fight began. The reinforcement of the enemy pleased the embodiment of conquest. He used the Meteor Strike skill again. Aaron tried to stop the attack with the help of snakes, and at the same time he grabbed Owl and Lupa and threw them to a safe distance. Now their task is to rescue the wounded and evacuate the battlefield. The enemy approached and prepared to strike from above, but Aaron immediately grabbed him with his snake-like appendages. The enemy was trapped, and the main character prepared to deliver a powerful blow. He understood where the enemy's weak point was. During the battle, Gon tried to protect his left eye the entire time, and so Aaron hit it right there with his next strike. The situation in which Gahan found himself was very familiar to him. For the embodiment of conquest, this brought back unpleasant memories of the first encounter with the winged embodiment. Until that moment, Gahan had wandered the world in search of a worthy opponent. He saw the meaning of his life in battles and considered himself the pinnacle of incarnations. But once on his way, Gon met a strong opponent. The second place of the Sephiroth, Cayman, arrived at the behest of Rem. A battle began between these two. In the end, the embodiment of conquest achieved victory, and only then did Rem appear. He was amazed by Gon's strength, as he had previously believed that no one could defeat Cayman. The winged incarnation offered the boy to become his subject, but he wanted to reach the top, so he challenged Remus. And right before his eyes, with one blow, he finished off the second-ranking Sephiroth, Cayman. The winged incarnation agreed to fulfill Gon's wish. With the help of the power of light, he captured the impudent. Rem wasn't going to kill him. He wanted to lure the embodiment of conquest to his side, but Gon wanted a real battle. To prove his strength, Remus burned out the armadillo's left eye, and then he left a wound in his heart with a branch of the sacred tree. These memories awakened uncontrollable rage in Gahan. He activated full power. The enemy's body has changed. The armor became metal and sharp spikes appeared on the arms. This was the power of the Rem branch. Gon fought against Aaron, but in his thoughts he carried the desire to defeat the winged incarnation. These two are enemies, but their goal is the same. Only the motive is different, and therefore they cannot coexist. Aaron used the power of snakes, but the modified battleship easily repelled the attack. Now he is significantly larger than the main character. Aaron attacked again, but he was immediately caught by the sharp spire of the enemy. Gon cut open the dragon's mouth. Then the main character threw a net of snakes at the enemy. And while he was fighting back, Aaron approached and again struck the enemy's left eye. In its current form, the embodiment of conquest had an advantage. Therefore, Aaron also changed his form. The main character turned into a serpentine dragon. Now it became easier for him to attack the enemy. Meanwhile, the queen directed the evacuation of her people. Lupa and Owl helped her, and Nadi was trying to unleash the power of the alicorn branch. This artifact resonated with the one in the girl's chest. He is endowed with enormous power. Those who are unable to cope with it fall into madness. Nadi made every effort to draw out this strength. Mentally, she begged the alicorn to let her do this, and she succeeded. Nadi received a spear capable of piercing any armor. At this point, Aaron had grabbed and held the enemy. All that was left for Nadia was to aim at the battleship. The girl gathered her strength and threw the spear at the enemy, but at the last moment Gon dodged and the weapon hit Aaron. The embodiment of conquest believed it had won, but the dragon did not die. He appeared in a new form. The alicorn's horn became part of his body. Aaron instantly rushed at his opponent and struck him in the eye, and then he used Quasar. The destructive energy of the black hole caused irreparable damage to Gon. The embodiment of conquest admitted defeat, but he was satisfied nonetheless. Aaron endures the pain of smoldering embers that grow into flames, and Gon was pleased with the thought that one day this flame would devour the largest wings, and he will also take part in this, becoming part of the main character's curse. The spirit of Dahak has absorbed the embodiment of conquest. In his subconscious, Aaron could talk to the Black Dragon. There is an agreement between these two. Dahaka gives all her power to the hero for revenge, but then takes control of his body. In fact, Aaron was very tired, but he had to go this way to the end. After absorbing Gon, the main character lost consciousness. He woke up only half a day later. Ruby was by his side the whole time. But as soon as he came to, the lizard ran away from the room. Aaron felt a warmth in his chest and realized it was Ruby's work. Meanwhile, the warriors of Levatine gathered all their dead comrades for burning. Less than half of the army survived. Lupa was very painfully experiencing the loss. Noticing Aaron, Nadi hurried to him. She noticed that the hero's curse aura had become more powerful. Now, no incarnation is able to defeat Aaron, but the hero was worried about something else. Ruby's abilities were a revelation to him, and so the guy decided to discuss it with her. Meanwhile, Remus's subjects were gathering in his pantheon. There arrived the first place of the Sephiroth, the embodiment of the abyss, Leviah. The third place, Ziz, the embodiment of lightning, was already in the hall next to Basheron. The reason for the gathering was announced by Vur, the embodiment of frost, the fifth place of the Sephiroth, and that was the death of Gon. The epitome of madness, Keisha, who is ranked fourth, was stunned by the news. Then Basheron informed everyone that it was necessary to avenge his comrade. The eyes of those present were bloodshot. Basheron created a spatial rift that leads to the fortress of Levatine. Aaron's condition worried Lupa greatly. She wanted to talk to the hero, but Nadia asked not to disturb him now. Left alone with Ruby, Aaron remembered how it all began. That painful day when the boy buried his sister was vividly etched in his memory. Then the main character promised that he would someday return to the grave with Remus's heart in his hands. He would like to believe that all this didn't happen because of him. Only thoughts of his sister kept Aaron sane. He dedicated his life to revenge. This desire displaced all other feelings and emotions. However, now the hero realized that without Ruby, he would not have been able to go through this long and difficult path. Because of Rem, Aaron hated all the incarnations of this world. The main character still wonders why his sister died and not him. Rem and Dahaka are very similar. They both brought suffering to Iran, and so the guy does everything to get revenge on them. After Ruby shared her power, the protagonist realized that she was also an incarnation. The lizard showed the hero his human form. Ruby hid it all her life because she didn't want Aaron to hate her. She was afraid of this the most, and that's why now she couldn't hold back her tears. Aaron admitted that when he received the alicorn branch, something changed in him. He saw memories very dear to the embodiment of immortality, and then Aaron realized that Ruby was his family. She was always on the hero's side, and so the guy apologized for not noticing it earlier and not appreciating it. The alicorn branch holds within itself sadness and regret, and these feelings are connected to the queen. But the Gon branch retains only an endless desire for revenge. This is exactly what makes him similar to the main character. Aaron and Gon, like beasts who fought to fill the huge holes in their hearts. Noticing the deep sadness, Ruby tried to comfort the protagonist. She assured me that she would always be there. Aaron, in turn, promised that when he took revenge, he would go with her to his sister's grave. Meanwhile, rabbits arrived at the burial site of the warriors. They reported that they could not teleport to the Levatine fortress. Whitepaw has no combat abilities. Therefore, it is impossible to move to a place where her life is in danger. The rabbit assumed that the Levatine fortress had been attacked, and I was not mistaken. Remus's servants were already near the fortification. Unsuspectingly, in the fortress of Levatine, the teacher told the children the history of this world. Once upon a time, a long time ago, nothing existed. That was until the wave that shook the entire universe appeared. The space-time began to expand, revealing the horizon of the world. Among all this, the first creatures appeared. There were 6 of them. Blessings in life were guided by a holy god. The demonic god ruled over curses and death. The god of magic ruled over miracles and laws. The god of witchcraft was responsible for cycles and harmony. The god of war presided over the discord. And the god of machines was responsible for creation and destruction. Then the absolute gods began to create countless lives on planet Earth. 5 of them were given revelation and became prophets. These were the first incarnations endowed with divine power. Unlike all other gods, the god of machines decided to create his own representative. It was modeled after a human and had no flaws. The first incarnations chose places for themselves on Earth and coexisted with people for a long time. But this order was disrupted by the appearance of a winged incarnation. This creature took away the divine treasures and destroyed the first incarnations. Everyone who stood in his way was destroyed. The children who listened to the story began to worry about their queen. But at that moment, Byrne appeared and calmed them down. He believed in the power of Regelza and the warriors who follow her. Among the ordinary children there was one mystical beast, Rachel the Mouse. She still hadn't awakened her abilities because she was still very young. But Byrne assured him that Rachel would definitely do it and become even stronger than him. The skills of incarnations are passed down to children from parents. But when the teacher said this, Byrne's mood changed dramatically. Without saying anything, the first commander of Levatine left. The reason was his son. Suddenly an alarm sounded in the fortress. It was a warning of an enemy attack. At the entrance stood Vur, the embodiment of frost. He used the icing skill. The path to the fortress was covered with ice. Then Mansi, the 10th Sephiroth, went on the attack. In the guise of a mammoth, he attacked the gates of the fortress. At this time, Byrne ordered everyone to prepare for battle. As soon as the mammoth approached the target, it was immediately met by Levatine's second-in-command. The giant animal flew back. Tarkin prepared for defense. Vur couldn't wait to start the fight, but he gave way to Mansi. Enraged by the first failure, the mammoth prepared for the next attack. Having increased his mass with the help of his skill, Mansi struck at his opponent. But Tarkin remained unharmed. He's the favorite of the god of war, and so the second commander's next blow knocked out the enemy. Then Byrne came to the rescue. He considers it his duty to defeat the embodiment of Frost, which is his son. Once upon a time, there was a frozen land of the northern ice wall. It was protected from wars for a long time. Humans and incarnations coexisted in peace. But one day a warrior, famous in countless battles, came there. That was Byrne, the divine embodiment of valor. The people there feared him. Only one person was sympathetic to the warrior. The embodiment of Snow Tosca enveloped Byrne in worry. These two fell in love. After some time, they had a child. However, that little bear cub looked like a monster. Byrne and Tosca worried that their child would be rejected by society. But then Rem appeared. He promised that he would save the child with the help of a branch. At the time, Byrne had no idea what would happen. Now this same child stands opposite and mocks his father's feelings. The polar bear skin that Vur wears belongs to his mother. Byrne couldn't stand it and rushed to attack the scoundrel. He couldn't allow anyone, even his own child, to make fun of his wife. Byrne's axe and Vur's ice hammer collided. But the power of the Sephiroth pushed the warrior away. The embodiment of ice continued to affect Byrne's feelings. Tarkin offered help, but the embodiment of valor assured that he would cope on his own. Meanwhile, other subjects of the winged incarnation penetrated the fortification. They destroyed the civilians of Levatine. There was the praying mantis Manteo, the embodiment of radiance, the 9th place of the Sephiroth. Also Arachne, the embodiment of silence, the 8th place of the Sephiroth. But the most bloodthirsty was the Keisha centipede. At this time, most of the residents of Levatine were heading to the secret hideout. The soldiers accompanying them asked them to hurry. But Rachel the mouse noticed that dirt was falling from the ceiling behind her. A moment later, the centipede Keisha crawled out, and behind her is the praying mantis Manteo with Arachne. The noise inside the fortress gave Byrne a terrible suspicion. The action at the entrance to the fortress is just a distraction. When the villain's intentions were exposed, Vur activated the Ice Palace skill. 2 Levatine commanders found themselves trapped. Tarkin tried to break through the wall, but nothing happened. It was a powerful magic that could only be destroyed by defeating the embodiment of Frost. Vur took on the fighting form of a bear, and immediately rushed into the attack. Tarkin hurried to stop him. He understood that every minute of delay would bring many casualties among the civilian population. Vur behaved defiantly. He combined the power of 2 incarnations and the branch of Rem. Then Tarkin took on his combat uniform. The scoundrel's self-confidence dissipated when Byrne joined the battle. He dealt a powerful blow to the enemy. Now Vur felt fear. The 1st and 2nd commanders of Levatine joined forces against him. Meanwhile, Arachne and Mantea tried to break through the gate to the secret hideout. Civilians managed to hide at the last moment. But Keisha couldn't wait that long. She ordered her comrades to get rid of the warriors who were already rushing here. With almost no effort, the praying mantis and the spider got rid of their guard, and the centipede started burning the gate with acid. A few minutes later, a hole appeared. Keisha gave people one last chance to save themselves. She promised to leave everyone alive if they brought her the hearts of the children. Mad with fear, the people looked at each other. But one woman screamed for everyone to come to their senses. She wasn't going to believe the monster's words and harm the children. This made the centipede very angry. She instantly threw her acid at people. Everyone froze in horror. But in a moment they realized that the acid had not reached them. Rachel the mouse awakened her ability and stopped the monster's attack with cheese. Despite the incredibly strong fear, the child held on to protect people. The Scolopendra is already tired of playing. She transformed into an even more hideous creature than she was. Despite this, Keisha understood Rachel's feelings. She was also ready to do anything for the person dear to her, the winged incarnation. And the centipede called this feeling love. The creature's ugly appearance frightened the mouse even more. The child could not stand the pressure and started crying. To stop this, Keisha prepared to attack. Her long, sharp tongue reached out to Rachel. But at the last moment, a red-haired woman covered the child. She herself received a mortal wound. Then Keisha grabbed the defender and burned her to the ground with acid. At that moment, something changed in Rachel. Despair gave way to rage. Scolopendra noticed the energy of the evil spirit. The mouse turned into a cold-blooded and ruthless beast. Rachel rushed to the attack. With one blow, she cut off Keisha's hand and several paws. And the mouse didn't stop there. She continued to attack the disgusting creature. To protect itself, the centipede squirted acid. But Rachel defended herself again with cheese. Going crazy from her failures, Keisha began to blame her friends for everything. And at that moment, a giant hammer created from the shoots of the world tree hit her. The Sephiroth didn't understand what was happening. At that very moment, Owl and Regelza attacked the mantis and the spider. The villains did not expect to fight the elite of Levatine, as they should have been on the lands of the pass. But thanks to their alliance with Rabbit's feet, they were able to return quickly. At this point, Nadia took it upon herself to calm Rachel down. She hugged the child and promised that she would not let anyone hurt her. And then she asked Rachel to drive away the anger and return to her true self. Rachel did it. The dark energy left the body and the mouse began to cry. And Nadia concentrated on the enemies. Keisha was just going crazy. She was ready to tear everyone in her path to pieces. Nadia was already approaching her. The girl realized that it was the centipede that was responsible for this terrible massacre. And the creature did not deny this. Feelings of hatred began to take over Nadia's mind. The evil spirit Karnun awakened within her. Keisha felt the same energy emanating from Rachel. This type of malice is only emitted by evil spirits. Scolopendra didn't like the way Nadia looked at her. The creature prepared to attack, but Nadia instantly silenced her with a powerful wave of dark energy. Only then did Keisha realize that this feeling was familiar to her. The power that filled Nadia's body is the same as that possessed by the winged incarnation. In the memory of the embodiment of nature, there is no one whom she would kill with her own hands. But now the girl was ready to do it. A fierce battle was unfolding at the entrance to the fortress. Vur already realized that he wouldn't be able to hold out for long, and so I decided to act more decisively. The embodiment of frost used icy rain. While Tarkin blocked the sharp spires, Vur struck him. At that moment, Sephiroth attacked Burn. The embodiment of valor seized the enemy's hand with his teeth. Vur tried to free himself from his ecstasy, but Burn would not give up. At the moment when the enemy was preparing to deliver a powerful blow, Tarkin stopped him. The embodiment of war grabbed Vur from behind and immobilized him. Then Aaron came to the rescue. With a powerful fire attack, he broke through the wall of the ice palace. Together with the hero were Lupa and Ruby. Burn warned that the enemy was very strong. But Aaron had nothing to worry about. And Lupa now also believed in the hero's incredible strength. He managed to overcome the second place of the Sephiroth, and therefore he will cope with the fifth. At this time, Vur transformed into a polar bear and immediately rushed to attack. But thanks to his victory over Gon, Aaron received impenetrable armor and therefore remained unharmed. Then the main character went on the attack. One blow from him was enough to make Vur lose his form. The embodiment of Frost took the opportunity to summon Lord Basheron. Instantly, the guardian of the winged incarnation opened a spatial crack, and he appeared, the strongest spear. Meanwhile, the Scolopendra used poisonous smoke. Noticing this, her subjects, Arachne and Manteo, fled to a safe distance. Queen Regelza used the power of Fragarak to protect herself and Owl from the effects of the poison. Only Nadia stood still. The fact is that this attack is not capable of harming her. Keisha tried to hit the enemy again, but this attempt was also unsuccessful. Instead, Nadia's power damaged the centipede's body. Realizing that poison was ineffective against the embodiment of nature, Keisha attempted to attack with physical force. Nadi cast darkness upon the enemy. In the dark space, Keisha saw a terrible monster before her, the evil god Karnun. He opened his mouth and swallowed part of the centipede. When the darkness cleared, Keisha realized that she had been badly injured by Nadia. She couldn't believe she had lost. Then Owl approached Nadia and pierced her heart. It was a vile betrayal. The queen was immediately showered with mantis blades. While she was fighting off the attack, Arachne paralyzed her. Regelsa asked why Owl betrayed them, and he just apologized and said that someday she would find out the truth. The queen did not understand anything. Even now she could see the hatred for the winged incarnation in Owl's eyes. And I was not mistaken, that is how it really is. And so Ulu managed to easily deceive the queen who sees through people. The man would not expose himself if the Scolopendra were not in danger of death. He wanted to finish everything as soon as possible. But at that moment, Nadia began to get up. Owl couldn't believe his eyes. It was impossible because he had pierced her heart. The evil god Karnun stood over the embodiment of nature. The shoots of the world tree, Nadi's skill, have now turned black. They began to grow with incredible speed. Owl grabbed Keisha in his arms. Before he ran away, he glanced at Rachel. This child was dear to him, but he had to go. Spreading its wings, Owl and the centipede fled. And the black shoots of Nadi tightly entwined Arachne and Manteo. Within seconds, not even a wet trace remained of these two. Then Rem appeared to the evil god Karnun, who had taken possession of Nadi's body. He had been waiting for this moment. To open the horizon of the world, it takes the flowering of branches that are nourished by the desires of the owner. And the new Nadia's desires were dark. The winged incarnation promised the girl a world without a single stain, and in it they will rule together with Karnun. Nadia woke up in an unknown world. It was her subconscious. The girl didn't understand why she was still alive. She clearly remembered fighting the centipede, and Nadia also remembered the moment when her heart was pierced. The answer to the question was given by a person who appeared out of nowhere. She explained that Nadia belonged to neither the living nor the dead from the very beginning. She had no idea about the existence of her dark side, and so I didn't notice at all how I let it take control of my body. While Nadi was guided only by good intentions, the dark side remained in the shadows. But now everything has changed. The world's first evil god, Karnun, gained power. Its history began in the times of myths. The absolute god of sorcery bestowed human form upon his incarnation. This was one of the first 6 incarnations to settle in the great western forest. His name is Karnun. The indigenous people of the forest accepted the incarnation as their prophet. Karnun prayed for eternal peace and harmony, but these were just empty dreams. An era of violence had come. People were killing each other. In those days, incarnations who tried to protect their people were considered terrible punishers. One day, the great western forest was also invaded. These were invaders in golden armor. They operated under the leadership of Lyog, the embodiment of war. The forest tribes united to resist the invaders. Karnun fought alongside them, but the forest dwellers lost this battle. The wounded Karnun asked Lyog the reason for such a cruel massacre, and he explained that it was a matter of providence. The embodiment of magic, Luna is able to see the future. She prophesied that this world would be destroyed. Lyog suggested that all this was the antics of one of the 6 incarnations. He didn't want to be a victim, so he decided to be the first to eliminate the possible culprits. Karnun did not understand how an inaccurate prophecy could take innocent lives. Anger began to fill his heart. The desire to kill absorbed all other feelings. The image of the embodiment of witchcraft disappeared without a trace, and Karnun turned into a monster. He destroyed the embodiment of war, Leoga. Then Rem appeared. He took the divine treasure of the fallen incarnation for himself. And he also intended to take the treasure of Karnun. The embodiment of sorcery guessed that it was Rem who Luna had seen in the vision. He is the incarnation that will destroy this world. Karnun regretted what he had done. An incarnation that succumbed to the malice inherent in humans can only be called an evil god. Karnun voluntarily gave Remus his divine treasure, the horn. But at the same time, they made a deal. If Remus manages to collect all the treasures, he will donate part of them to the embodiment of witchcraft. Karnun hoped to open the horizon of the world and bring back the beloved primordial world. But something unexpected happened. Nadia appeared in the subconscious and began to suppress Karnun's anger. They are together, one whole. That's why Nadia always had a dream in which she was running away from a terrible monster. The girl was afraid, but at the same time she felt that the creature was sad, and now she understood the reason. Karnun tries to change the world because he blames himself for failing to protect his loved ones. This heavy burden also falls on Nadia. But the girl is ready to stand against evil and protect the lives of innocent people. Karnun once tried to do this, but he didn't have enough strength. He chose the side of evil, and now one of the strongest incarnations in history has prepared to fight Nadia. The appearance of Basheron caused the destruction of the ice palace of the embodiment of frost. The guardian of the winged incarnation sent Vur to the pantheon, and he himself prepared for battle with Aaron. Basheron was confident of his victory. His fist is capable of destroying everything. But the main character did not feel a drop of fear. He is a descendant of the Black Dragon, and he is the one who will destroy all the evil gods and the winged incarnation. Basheron always wondered why he came to this world. Its power is capable of destroying even space itself. Rem explained this ability as a manifestation of subconscious desires. Chicks break their eggs to see the world, even though for them the egg is the whole world. Rem assured that Basheron needed to destroy this world in order to learn what he was born for. From then on, their journey together began. The embodiment of destruction used the power of an unrivaled spear against Iran. Byrne and Lupa were scared for their friend, but in vain. The protagonist managed to block the attack. What really surprised Basheron? Only the strongest shield can withstand the strongest spear, and Aaron acquired this skill thanks to Gon. The main character transformed, and then he immediately rushed into the attack. Basheron was injured, and realized that it wouldn't be easy for him either. Meanwhile, a bright light appeared above the fortress. The Levatine commanders noticed Owl fleeing the fortification. The traitor instantly headed into the spatial crack created by Basheron. Byrne and Tarkin immediately set off in search of the Queen. Lupa also wanted to rush to Regel's aid, but she couldn't leave Aaron alone. Then the girl decided to act. She asked Ruby to share her power with her, and the battle between shield and spear intensified. No matter how hard Basheron tried, he couldn't leave Aaron wounded. Now the dragon's body became impenetrable. It was a battle between two absolute opposites. After another clash of forces, Aaron resorted to tricks. As the smoke cleared, he forced his way through the ice and attacked Basheron. It was a super powerful blow. The winged incarnation's guardian armor shattered into pieces. His halo cracked. Then Basheron became truly angry and activated the power of the branch. To move the Levatine warriors into the fortress, the rabbits used their emergency skills. It consists of instant teleportation to any location. It is a one-time use. After that, rabbits lose this ability forever. Only 3 people can fit in the hole, and so the Queen had to choose 6 candidates. Regelsa made up her mind in an instant. She, Nadia, and Owl headed inside the fortress. She chose Aaron, Lupa, and Ruby to fight at the entrance to the fortress. Regelsa believed that the main enemy forces would be concentrated there, and she was not mistaken. The rest remained on the lands of the Pasha to help the wounded. The rabbits were a bit sad to lose their ability to move, but they found something to console themselves with. It was thanks to the battle for Valkyrie that Aaron gained a power that the rabbits never expected. Now they are one step closer to their goal. The day will soon come when they will join their big sister and reach the moon. During the battle on the lands of the Pasha, another very important thing was revealed. Ruby is a divine creature. The power of the gods who created the world has no form. But after a long time, she regains consciousness and becomes a spirit. A spirit that has managed to create its own body transforms into a spirit beast. Upon further reincarnation, the spirit beast becomes an incarnation, and such a creature possesses potential that is not inferior to the first 6 incarnations. Ruby's special feature is that she is able to give others her power, and she did it with Lupa to help Aaron. The she-wolf took on a fiery form. Meanwhile, Basheron also changed his form. It burned with a blue flame. Instead of Ananta, Lupa entered the battle. She used the skill Seal of Red Flame. However, Basheron withstood the attack. He is a beast born from an absolute demonic god. There is only one like it in the whole world. Aaron wondered why such a powerful warrior was following Rem, but Basheron wasn't going to answer. Instead, he prepared to launch a powerful attack. Aaron was ready, but at the last moment, a bright light appeared in the sky. Remus urged Basheron to return to the Pantheon. He has already collected all the pieces of the world's horizon. In the hands of the winged incarnation was Nadia, the last fragment. More precisely, Karnun, who occupied her body. In her subconscious, the girl still continued to fight the evil god. Her willpower was simply amazing. But Karnun assured Remus that he would soon gain victory. Nadia's betrayal stunned the main character, but when he looked at the girl, he realized that something had changed in her. And this is definitely the work of the winged incarnation. Aaron's anger flared. The power of the curse demanded that the boy succumb to the feeling of anger, and the spirit of Dahak began to prevail. The transformation has begun. Deep down, Eren hated the dragon. The boy was afraid of going mad because of the uncontrollable anger that filled him from head to toe. That's why the hero's inner world was like a scorched desert, empty and dead. The main character would rather sink his claws into Dahak. But after the curse, the dragon became a part of the hero himself. Dahaka lives with him in his subconscious and seeks revenge. And she reminded Arana who the real enemy is. But no matter how hard the main character tries, he still doesn't have enough strength to defeat the winged incarnation. And this drove Eren crazy. He was ready to tear Remus apart right now. But courage without strength will not bring the desired result. To become more powerful, you must overcome your weakness. The hero's body contains unsurpassed divine power. She is able to transform an ordinary human body into a devourer, known as the embodiment of revenge. Thanks to this, Eren is able to release demonic power at will. His body can withstand the divine. But using full force is the same as turning into a monster. However, Rem created branches capable of transforming any monster into a divine incarnation. Dahaka suggested that the hero take that branch and be reborn as a true incarnation. And when the time comes, the dragon will take over Eren's body. He will regain his true power with the help of a branch and a curse and take revenge on the winged incarnation. The protagonist agreed to the offer. There was only one condition. He would take revenge himself. And after that, Eren allowed Dahak to do whatever she wanted with his body. The Black Dragon agreed. Rem had not paid attention to Eren before. But the main character's persistence was already starting to annoy the villain. The winged incarnation used the power of light. But this attack could not harm the mighty Black Dragon. Eren prepared to strike back. The power of fire and the power of light came together in confrontation. No one gained an advantage. Then Karnun expressed his desire to take part in the battle. Rem allowed it. Eren prepared to attack the evil god who had forced Nadi out of her body. Descending, Karnun activated the shoots of the World Tree. They tightly wrapped around the main character. Rem activated the power of light again against a stationary target. The powerful energy struck and damaged the dragon's body, but it failed to destroy the enemy. The winged incarnation was surprised that his wave of the hand was not enough. Meanwhile, Lupa and Ruby entered the dragon's wounded body and tried to find Eren there. Inside the creature, they noticed a hero entwined with threads of curse. Then Basheron appeared. The embodiment of destruction dealt a powerful blow to the dragon. The beast's body could not withstand such force. The threads of the curse that connected Eren to the dragon form were broken, and the main character fell unconscious. Ruby instantly took on the form of an incarnation and rushed to help. She lifted Eren up and shared her strength. At the same time, the lizard repeated that it would always protect the main character. Within seconds, Eren recovered and launched a new attack. Only this time, the hero struck Rem with the energy of the curse. At the last moment, the enemy took cover, but Eren managed to burn his left wings. Remus descended from heaven. His left hand began to turn black from the curse. He couldn't even imagine that it was possible. Karnun understood the main character's feelings because he was observing him from Nadia's inner world. He knew that Eren was also a victim of grief from losing someone dear to him. But now they are enemies. Lupa assumed combat form and attacked Basheron. Eren also attacked, and this time he hit the embodiment of wings in the eye. Now Rem turned his attention to Eren as his opponent. All these events were observed from a distance by rabbits. Whitepaw reported the situation to the main base. Eren, meanwhile, took on a winged form. Now he has risen to the heavens above his enemy. Remus was angered by the fact that the enemy was looking down on him. But Karnun asked the winged incarnation to pull himself together. Continuing the battle was not profitable. The embodiment of wings is infected. If he doesn't take action, the dragon's curse will spread throughout his body and turn him into a monster. Rem immediately cut off the infected limb, and he decided to return to the Pantheon. Basheron opened a spatial rift. Eren wanted to prevent the enemy from escaping, but Karnun opposed him. The protagonist activated Dahak's super-powerful attack. Fiery meteorites flew towards the embodiment of nature, but Karnun stopped them with the shoots of the World Tree. During this time, Rem and Basheron passed through a spatial rift, and behind them came Karnun. That was the end of the battle. Whitepaw reported the results in detail to the main base. The hero failed to defeat the winged incarnation. However, Eren managed to injure him badly. The enemy hastily retreated, which means that the power of the curse has weakened him. In addition, the infected hand of the winged incarnation remained on the battlefield. Levatine suffered enormous losses. Of the 3,000 civilians, only 90 remained alive, and of the fighters, only 4. Aaron's physical condition was fine, but Ruby felt the hero's deep despair and did not leave him for a moment. This changed after the appearance of Blackpaw. She took the lizard from Aaron. Then Ruby took the form of an incarnation and immediately expressed her hostility towards the rabbit. But Blackpaw didn't pay any attention to it. She tried to comfort Aaron and cheer him up a little. Only the main character saw no reason for joy. Almost all the inhabitants of Levatine were destroyed. Now this place is filled with crying and pain from the loss of loved ones. Aaron still hasn't taken anything from his enemy, but he was sure that next time he would put an end to this battle. Blackpaw's consolations were not interesting to the hero. Her intrusiveness was quite irritating to Ruby. To stop this, Aaron pushed the rabbit away from him. Then Whitepaw appeared. She also noted the achievements of the main character, and then announced the intention to move civilians to another base. That is, to the headquarters of the Rabbit's Foot organization. It's safe there, and you can prepare for the next battle with the winged incarnation. In addition, rabbits have valuable information about the enemy. Rem is by nature the last of the first 6 incarnations. He is the embodiment of the god of machines. Owl and the centipede Keisha arrived in the pantheon somewhat earlier than the winged incarnation. They were met by other members of the Sephiroth. There was also the skeleton, the embodiment of murder. He was once a contender for one of Rem's top 5 subjects. And to achieve this status, the framework brutally dealt with the 4th and 5th places of the Sephiroth. This act greatly angered the embodiment of wings. Therefore, he relieved Carcass of his duties. But now this person is in the pantheon. The embodiment of murder allowed himself to mock Keisha's failure. But at that moment, Rem appeared with Basheron and Karnun. The embodiment of wings was very unhappy that the invasion of Levatine had ended in losses. The Sephiroths hoped for a massacre without resistance, but instead they suffered defeat and lost 3 of their comrades. Even 5th place, the embodiment of Frost, Vur, received significant damage. Rem felt particular anger towards the Scolopendra Keisha. He did not expect defeat from the 4th place of the Sephiroth. However, this only happened because Nadia was the opponent of the centipede. As a result, Rem changed the hierarchy of the Sephiroth. Owl, having successfully completed the spy task, took 6th place. The frame received its coveted 5th place, and Karnun was appointed by Rem as the 2nd pillar of the Sephiroth. The incarnation of the wings announced the final preparations for the conquest of the lands of the gods. Soon the horizon of the world will be opened. Meanwhile, Whitepaw has moved Aaron, Lupa, and Ruby to the Rabbitpaw's headquarters. This place is called the Labyrinth. The rest of Levatine was taken care of by Blackpaw. She has gathered everyone who remains in one place and will soon move them to headquarters as well. The rabbits were able to do this thanks to a device created based on their skill, the Alcubierre engine. Immediately after teleportation, Whitepaw led the guests to the head of the organization. She is Serena. Aaron immediately noticed that this rabbit was very similar to Black and White Paws. Serena was a bit confused by her first meeting with the main character. Until now, she had only heard about him. The chef immediately admitted that it was her idea to collaborate with Aaron, and she noticed that they both looked very similar. Serena and the main character have the same enemy. Lupa didn't want to waste time on idle chatter, so she asked to get down to business right away. Serena invited the guests into a special room. It's like a library. The rabbit admitted that she has an obsession with learning everything about her enemy. This feeling is fueled by hatred and malice. Unlike the strong, the weak Serena cannot take revenge, and so she spent years gathering information about the winged incarnation. She wrote down everything about him, and now Serena was going to tell Remus's story to her allies. It all began with the path of a nameless incarnation. Wandering through the desert spaces, the embodiment of machines met a person for the first time. It was Fiona. When creating Rem, the god of machines laid down in him the basic principle, to benefit the world of people. But the incarnation did not understand what the point was. He decided to analyze the concepts of organic life forms in order to develop his own emotions and consciousness. And the first person on his way was very scared. To calm Fiona down, Rem introduced himself and assured her that he had no intention of harming anyone. At this point, Aaron interrupted Serena's story. He didn't want to know the whole story of his enemy, but only information about him, like the embodiment of wings. But it was at the first meeting of the embodiment of mechanisms with a person that there was meaning. This event was a turning point when Rem absorbed the will to embody the wings. The history of the formation of the enemy's worldview will help you find his weakness. Serena, just as much as Aaron, didn't want to waste time. Having gained understanding, the rabbit continued the story. Then in the desert, Rem learned Fiona's story. The girl found herself alone in conditions dangerous for survival due to an attack by robbers. Her family was engaged in trade. They spent their entire lives delivering water to desert tribes. But one day the trade caravan was attacked. The girl's relatives were killed. Miraculously, Fiona managed to survive and escape. The girl was only injured. Recalling these events, Fiona cried. Rem watched her closely the whole time, and he recognized an ancient human emotion, sadness. Then Fiona pulled herself together and began asking about the incarnation of the machines. She knew about Alicorn, Azi, Dahak, Karnun, Lyog, and Luna. However, the girl had absolutely no understanding of what the embodiment of machines was. Rem explained that he is a mechanism that uses energy to accomplish a task. He is a servant of the god of machines who controls creation and destruction, and his role on Earth is to help the development of humanity. To help Fiona understand better, Rem decided to show her everything with an example. The embodiment of machines, thanks to its power, created a hole in the ground. A moment later, water gushed out. Fiona was amazed. Rem can help people find springs and desalinize seawater. Then the desert tribes will forget about thirst and begin to flourish. Fiona couldn't believe what she was seeing and hearing. She considered Rem her savior. A year has passed. Thanks to the embodiment of machines, Fiona has developed civilization and technology. She dug up springs and created many oases in the desert. Selling desalinated seawater brought Fiona wealth. Her hometown grew into the developed city of Ocean. The girl consulted the embodiment of machines about everything. But one day, a misunderstanding arose between them. Trade turnover was increasing rapidly, but roads and ports could not cope with it, and all because of the labor shortage. This was caused by the payback law that Fiona introduced. According to it, every criminal receives punishment, expulsion from the Oasis Zone. The law protects people, but it hinders development. The number of exiles significantly exceeded the number of main inhabitants. Fiona divided people into enemies and allies, even though there are options for successful coexistence. For this reason, people will not stop killing each other, and the time will come when the exiles will decide to take revenge. The embodiment of machines considered the option of using bandits as labor. His attention was focused on the development of humanity, but Fiona couldn't lend a helping hand to those who were killing innocent people. She could not betray the memory of her family, but Rem could not understand human feelings. He did not attach any importance to those who were already dead. For the embodiment of machines, only living people are important, who can be observed. Then Fiona remarked that villains who take innocent lives are not worthy of being called human. This moment became a turning point in the formation of the views of the winged incarnation. Remus's warnings about the exiles' attack were later confirmed, and Rem himself went out to meet the horde of bandits. The embodiment of machines wanted to free himself from the divine providence that bound him. And so, for the first time in his entire existence, Rem used force against people. He went against the principle laid down by his creator. Just one wave of the hand was enough to eliminate even a trace of the attackers. A few minutes earlier, Ossian's alarmed people had gathered outside Fiona's apartment. They didn't know what to do. Fear and panic gripped the population, but Fiona instantly brought everyone back to their senses. She called on the people to fight for their lands and loved ones. Everyone supported the leader's decision, but at that moment a flash of bright light appeared outside the city. That was the white light of Rem's skill. Fiona understood it immediately. The girl rushed to the scene within minutes, and I found only the embodiment of machines there. None of the bandit attackers were left. Rem saved Fiona again, and again he saw fear on the girl's face. Rem admitted that he was very lucky. Up until this point, the embodiment of machines had many questions about the creator principle. All his life he tried to understand the nature of humanity. Thanks to Fiona, Rem learned that people don't kill people. And so now he has decided to embark on a journey to find out what it means to be human. Rem felt free. He left Fiona without regret. For a long time, the embodiment of machines wandered through the desert, analyzing his feelings. And suddenly I thought about joy. Rem wanted to find something that would bring him this emotion. And so he went back to the world of people. The incarnation of the machines settled in many places, spreading technology and civilization. He was worshipped as if he were a deity. But that never lasted long. All the places Rem stayed in were not much different from the world he learned about from Fiona. People hated and killed each other. Good people suffered and cried. The one who kills is not a human being. He is just a creature in human form. But when Remus killed countless attackers, he was considered a savior. Therefore, he came to the conclusion that the one who kills everyone will become a god. To ponder this, the embodiment of machines once again left humans and went into the desert. He met Luna on his way. She is the embodiment of magic. The cat immediately used the Alcubierre engine for teleportation. Rem didn't understand what was happening, but he was amazed by the amount of energy Luna was radiating. Within seconds, the embodiments of magic and machines found themselves in the labyrinth. Rem wanted an explanation. At that time, Luna was served by Serena, the current boss of the labyrinth. She was still very young then, and remembered well the day when Rem appeared at the headquarters. Luna was more than just a boss to Serena, she was family. Rem tried to measure the size of the labyrinth, but failed. And all because it is a boundless magical space. All information from the beginning of time is recorded here. The labyrinth is isolated from the rest of the world. No one can leave or enter here without Luna's permission. This cat is the keeper of the labyrinth library, and she hoped that Rem wouldn't dare to run amok on her territory. But the embodiment of machines immediately warned that nothing would hold him back, not even the will of the gods. Luna got down to business. She gave Remus an ancient book that describes the horizon of the world that existed at the very beginning. It contains information regarding the true powers of the divine treasures possessed by the first 6 incarnations. The moment the 6 relics unite, a seed will be formed from which the world tree will grow. Luna can see the future. She had foresight. Soon the world tree will sprout, and behind it will appear the horizon of the world, which will destroy all life on the planet. Luna intends to stop this, but she needs help. It is for this reason that the cat turned to the embodiment of machines. She promised to fulfill Rem's dream if he helped, and she knew very well that the embodiment of machines wanted to become human. Luna has several skills. She is capable of teleportation and seeing the future. But the true power of a cat is that it can grant skills. To satisfy her curiosity, Luna decided to check if magic worked on the embodiment of mechanisms. The cat used as Aiden. This technique superimposes the image of a child on the target. Rem instantly turned into a small robot. Then Luna admitted that she had been observing the first incarnations for a long time. Some of them have learned to live with people. Others rule over them. Only the embodiment of the machines was different from all others. He abandoned his mission and devoted himself to studying people. Luna knew everything. To avert the prophecy, the cat made a pact with the embodiment of machines. Her goal is to create a device that combines magic and mechanisms. And for this, Luna needs Rem's power. The cat began to implement the plan she had been working on for a long time. It took a whole year of tireless work to get the desired result. There were many trials and many errors. Yet Luna and Rem managed to create a magical engineering artifact that mechanizes forces. At this important moment, Serena was next to Luna. She witnessed pivotal events in history. After that, Luna decided to show her secret base. She used the Alcubierre engine and the teleportation began. All 3 found themselves in a strange place on the moon. Luna created this base to prevent the world tree from growing. It was from here that the cat watched the first incarnations. Luna's plans were simply amazing. Rem also created 6 magical spheres for himself and improved his fighting skills. The spheres created for Luna were focused on controlling sound waves and teleportation. Finally, the cat decided to tell Remus the details of the prophecy. Once she tried to share what she saw with one of the first incarnations. It was Leog, the embodiment of war. She was hoping for support but received an unexpected response. Leog refused to do anything because of the incomplete prophecy. The thing is, Luna only has a vague vision. She saw how an unknown incarnation with wings would open the horizon of the world. That is why the cat is going to detect his appearance in advance and prevent the villain from reaching the relics. The preparation stage of the magic sphere was completed. It's time for Luna to fulfill her promise. The cat prepared to give Remus the image of a human. But before applying the technique, she wondered why the machines would need it. Rem promised to tell after he became human. Luna used magic without hesitation. Rem's iron body began to grow muscles. But in a moment, the cat was struck by a bitter realization. The appearance that Rem had acquired was painfully familiar. This is the person Luna saw in the prophecy. It was impossible to stop the magical technique. Remus has wings, and he immediately used his power. Thanks to the energy of light, the villain captured Luna and Serena. And only then did he admit that in reality, the embodiment of machines did not want to become human. Rem looked further. He wanted to become the wing that protects freedom. And thanks to Luna, he succeeded. Remus immediately took the cat's divine treasure, the eye. He believed that he would go beyond this world and take his freedom from the gods. He also wanted to reclaim the magic sphere. Serena was holding it. To protect the rabbit, Luna used the Alcubierre engine on it. Serena instantly teleported away. Rem was angry. His energy weakened. It was thanks to this artifact that he was able to capture Luna. Long ago, the embodiment of machines noticed the incredibly similar aura between a cat and a rabbit, and he realized that most of Luna's powers had been transferred to Serena. Rem thought that the rabbit's role was a reserve to support the labyrinth in a critical situation. But the meaning was completely different. Luna shared her power out of love for Serena. But this feeling is not available to the winged embodiment. Then Rem killed the embodiment of magic, and remained the host on a monthly basis. This concludes Serena's story about the origin of the winged incarnation. Now the rabbit's motives are known to everyone. But Aaron didn't understand how Serena was going to take revenge. She is just a weak rabbit who never leaves the territory of the labyrinth. And it was true. After losing Luna, Serena was in deep despair. She cried for days. But later, grief was replaced by anger. Serena quickly learned to fulfill the duties of a library manager. For a long time, the rabbit accumulated knowledge and strength. She swore to use Luna's inheritance for revenge, and White and Black Paws helped her prepare for this. Besides information, the rabbits had one very useful thing for Aaron. White Paw presented the hero with a magic sphere with the power of sealing. The power of the winged incarnation is hidden in 6 magical spheres. If you use a sealing sphere, you can neutralize the powerful powers of this creature. The same can be done with the evil god who lives in the main character's body. That is, thanks to this mechanism, Aaron will be able to return to his original body. After talking with the boss of the labyrinth, Lupa was in no hurry to leave the main character. Aaron advised the she-wolf to rest and not follow him. But then, Lupa dared to ask what he was going to do after he took revenge. The main character never thought about what would happen next. The only thing he would like is to visit his sister's grave again. But considering the treaty with Az Dahak, Aaron doubted that even that would be possible. Then Lupa said that he would definitely be able to honor his family and move on. Aaron asked the she-wolf not to interfere in his affairs. But Lupa could not leave the main character alone. Now she considers him a friend. And a friend is someone who is there for you in difficult times and helps you solve problems. Someone you can trust with your life. Lupa decided to tell her story. Once upon a time, she was one of the spirit beasts of the winged incarnation. The she-wolf doesn't remember what happened up until that moment. Her memories begin in a dark and damp cave. Inside were many spirit beasts. Every month, Rem came there through a spatial crack. As if for show, he would arrange fights to the death. Rem tried to turn the spirit beasts into bloodthirsty monsters in this way. Lupa didn't want to become a monster. To remain a spiritual beast, she had to live with unbearable loneliness. But one day, light broke through that dark cave. It was the work of Queen Regelza. She broke open the entrance to the cave and tried to free all the spirit beasts. But all I found there were a lot of corpses. Despite this, the queen continued her search, and she was not mistaken. In that cave there was one living spirit beast, Lupa. Having assumed combat form, the she-wolf prepared for battle with humans. The subjects immediately took a defensive position to protect the queen. But Regelza saw much more than the rest. She sensed that Lupa was, in fact, very scared. So I dropped my weapon and boldly headed towards her. But before the queen could say anything, the she-wolf pinned her to the ground with her paw. Then the queen announced the purpose of her invasion. She understood that Lupa had gone through terrible times. So I extended a helping hand to her and called her a friend. From then on, the wolf's life changed. She was never alone again. Now the girl feels that she cannot leave the main character. She thinks Aaron is vulnerable. The main character was a loner all his life. He fought without any support, and all because he didn't want to lose any more loved ones. The day his sister died, Aaron was too weak for such pain. The guy tried to push everyone away from him. But some, like Ruby, were still there despite this. They stubbornly went beyond the boundaries set by the main character. But now Aaron realized that he felt better with them. And so I immediately thanked Lupi for it. The struggle in the inner world of the embodiment of nature still continued. Nadia suffered greatly. She fought to never see anyone sacrificed again. Karnun understood her. He once fought for this too, but he lost the battle. And that's why Karnun doesn't want Nadia to suffer like he did. The evil god asked the girl to surrender and dissolve into him, and then he will show a world where no one will suffer. But instead of agreeing, Nadia activated Tudis's powerful ability. The shoots of the world tree amazed Karnun. Nadia sincerely felt sorry for her double, but she will never be able to accept his choice. the embodiment of nature prepared for battle. She won't give up on Karnun, but she will do everything to prevent him from making a terrible mistake. While fierce battles raged in Nadia's subconscious, her body was still controlled by an evil god. Owl noticed that Karnun didn't look very well. He was somewhat confused by the fact that Nadia was still struggling for control of her body. If she can break free, she will definitely take revenge on her killer. The embodiment of nature is not the only one whom Owl has hurt and failed to apologize to, and therefore the embodiment of the art of swordsmanship has become hated. Owl announced that the winged incarnation was organizing a meeting. Meanwhile, another part of the Levatine arrived in the labyrinth. Everyone was coordinated by Blackpaw. People felt a little embarrassed. The leader of the Rabbit's Paws, Serena, came to congratulate the queen in person. Regelza expressed gratitude for the help, and immediately Lupa rushed to her and hugged her. She was sincerely glad to see her queen. Serena soon told the other members of Levatine the truth about the winged incarnation. As proof that Rem is the embodiment of machines, his hand was presented. And then they reported that the villain was most likely at the lunar base. All of its Sephiroth are also located there. Now it's time to reveal the plan that Rabbit's Feet has been working on for a long time. And it involves an invasion of a lunar base. This place was created by Luna to observe the world. It was from there that Rem managed to discover the secret fortification of Levatine. After capturing the base, the winged incarnation expanded it to 10 sectors. They are all interconnected. The size of each sector is equal to the size of an entire city. Their number corresponds to the number of Sephiroth. And this is no coincidence. The base project is a magic circle that opens up the horizon of the world. And the Sephiroth are seedlings grown by Rem himself. Only one chosen branch will be able to sprout. It will ultimately become the World Tree. The goal of Serena's plan is to disrupt the ritual of the winged incarnation and the Sephiroth. Among Rem's subordinates, the strongest is the embodiment of the abyss, Levia. She occupied the first place of the Sephiroth. The embodiment of wings managed to lure Levia to his side, promising to rid her of loneliness forever. Possessing power capable of destroying the world, the embodiment of the abyss was chained to the watery depths. Remus gave Levia the image of incarnation with the help of a branch and freed him from eternal swimming. The gathering began on a monthly basis. All the Sephiroth arrived at the main sector. Only the winged incarnation was not there. In his place stood Karnun, and Levia didn't like that very much. However, Rem himself instructed Karnun to distribute instructions to everyone. For this reason, a dispute began among the Sephiroth. The embodiment of the abyss did not want to obey anyone except the winged embodiment. Carcass believed that this could be a sign of a change in the hierarchy and was happy, hoping to get a promotion. Karnun called everyone incomplete incarnations as they gained power from the branches, and this terribly angered the embodiment of the abyss. Tensions between the two were growing, but Basheron instantly calmed everyone down. He recalled the reason why everyone had gathered and asked Karnun to announce Rem's message. In 4 days, the creation of the world horizon will take place. The mediator in the ritual will be Karnun. The task of the Sephiroth is to carefully prepare their bases for the enemy's invasion. Until now, everyone considered the lunar base unreachable for outsiders. But the embodiment of the wings is well aware of the existence of Serena, who has received some of Luna's powers, and therefore the enemy can move to the moon base at any time. This message did not only confuse the embodiment of the abyss. Levia was confident that she could deal with her enemies even on her own. The tense atmosphere made Owl wary. He understood that the unity of the Sephiroth rests only on the absolute presence of the embodiment of the wings. Without Rem, everyone is just uncontrollable monsters, and this situation suggests that the curse caused Remus much more harm than expected. Blackpaw was incredibly happy to see the main character again. She missed him, so she hurried to say hello, but Lupa stood in the rabbit's way. The she-wolf stopped Blackpaw and did not let her go to Aaron, but she was indignant and remarked that rudeness was not appropriate for girls. And then I immediately noticed that the main character and Lupa had become very close. Blackpaw had no choice but to report on the state of affairs. But Aaron's thoughts were occupied with something else entirely. He was on his way to meet Whitepaw. The rabbit declared that she wanted to participate in the battle with the embodiment of wings. On the day the main character lost his sister, Whitepaw appeared. She met Aaron by chance, but this event was a turning point. The rabbit immediately felt a strong aura of curse from the hero. His body was no different from the incarnation. In order to establish contact, Whitepaw confessed that she was also a victim of the winged incarnation. Back then, the rabbit had a slightly different shape. and only now has she returned to her true form. Before meeting Aaron, Whitepaw was engaged in searching for and collecting dangerous information. But the power of the main character's curse intrigued Serena. Since then, the leader of the Rabbit's Feet has focused on helping Aaron become stronger. Serena used the As-Idun technique and placed the image of a child on Whitepaw. In this form, the rabbit was the main character's assistant. But it's time for Whitepaw to prove that she can stand up for herself. And to do this, she will engage in battle with Aran. If the rabbit wins, it will be able to participate in the battle on the lunar base. The confrontation will continue until one of them is unable to fight or dies. Blackpaw sincerely believed in her sister's strength. She was also a witness. The Whitepaw activated the magic sphere. Aaron rushed to the attack. That rabbit avoided the blow. She took the form of a rabbit and instantly jumped away. Then Whitepaw used control and struck the main character. In response, Aaron attacked with the dragon's claws. But the opponent again escaped harm. Its power lies in the visualization of a threat to life. Thus, Whitepaw sees the possible outcome of the attack and avoids it in advance. Threat prediction allows you to accurately determine the trajectory of the strike. To strike the enemy again, Whitepaw used the snake illusion. A phantom form grabbed Aaron, but then the hero used the power of his curse. The rabbit has lost the ability to predict attacks. Aaron used his wings and attacked from above. Whitepaw could not avoid this blow, but the main character stopped the attack at the last moment. All because the rabbit didn't even try to cowardly dodge the blow. Aaron saw in her a warrior ready to meet his death. However, he still hates Whitepaw for always hiding her true feelings. The rabbit wore a false image all the time, trying to appear cheerful. Although in reality she harbored a desire to take revenge on Rem for the suffering of her family, Serena received her power from Luna. Whitepaw was the first incarnation created by the leader of the labyrinth through this power. Over time, Blackpaw became the same. That's when the information organization began its activities, all for the sake of getting revenge on Rem, but the rabbit's strength was too little. It seemed that there was simply no way to defeat the winged incarnation. The rabbits began to gather information about those who harbored a grudge against Rem and formed an alliance with them. Whitepaw considered herself a tool needed only to exact revenge. She was ready to risk her life. But the leader of the labyrinth had repeated many times that Whitepaw's safety must come first. Instead of treating her incarnations as tools, Serena genuinely loved them. And therefore she was categorically against Whitepaw participating in the invasion of the moon base. Serena couldn't throw her into the jaws of death for her revenge. But Whitepaw insisted on it. She knew that as long as Rem existed in this world, Serena would never be free from sadness. And so she was ready to give her life for a world in which her older sister would forget this feeling. The atmosphere of selfless love touched everyone present. Blackpaw couldn't hold back her tears. Rachel the mouse also remembered a person dear to her. She hid from prying eyes and began to cry. Only Ruby noticed it. The lizard tried to comfort the mouse and find out the reason for its sadness. It turned out that Rachel was upset about Owl. The mouse's parents were destroyed by Rem. The child was found and rescued by the residents of Levatine. Owl was appointed her guardian. This person replaced Rachel's parents. And so now it is very difficult for her to accept the betrayal of the embodiment of the art of swordsmanship. An idea appeared in Ruby. She was going to help the mouse meet Owl. For many years, rabbits have watched the moon, and they noticed a strange phenomenon there that occurs during a total solar eclipse. Each time during this period, a large-scale energy reaction was observed on a monthly basis. Energy from each sector moved to the other sector. This colossal burst of energy remained there for some time and then disappeared. The rabbits concluded that these were test launches of the world's horizon. The nature of the energy in each sector is identical to the energy of the branches of the world tree, and therefore the Sephiroth serve as sources of nourishment. The next solar eclipse will occur in 4 days. That's when the lunar base invasion operation will begin. Thanks to a large-scale spatial transfer, the warriors will find themselves in the 4th sector. It is impossible to teleport immediately to the 2nd base, where the ritual will be held. This is due to the fact that rabbits cannot determine its exact coordinates. There are only 2 spatial movement techniques. Small teleportation is designed for 4 people. Large scale has no restrictions on the number of participants. The first option allows you to travel to any location, and the second option can only be used for a location that Serena has previously visited. Only the 4th sector is such a place. Additionally, to activate the scale transfer, Whitepaws and Blackpaws must accompany the warriors. Their next task is to install a teleportation device to provide a path for retreat. Meanwhile, the warriors will clear 4th and 3rd bases, then engage in a final battle at 2nd. This path will minimize the number of battles and make the decisive battle quick. Aaron's task is to destroy the winged incarnation. Left alone, the protagonist pondered the magic sphere that seals powers. Dahaka expressed her dissatisfaction with this device. The cursed spirit warned Aaron not to even think of using the sphere against him, because as soon as the boy thinks about it, the dragon will seize and destroy his body. The main character assured that there was no need to worry. He wondered what future awaited Dahaka after defeating the winged incarnation. The spirit became angry and opened its mouth at the hero. He swore he would never forgive Arana and lashed out at him, but the boy waved his hand and dispelled the phantom form of the dragon. 4 days later, everyone gathered at the teleportation device. Aaron was appointed leader of this operation. The main character does not believe he is worthy to lead a battle where human lives are at stake. However, he is confident that he will win over the winged incarnation, and he believes in everyone who goes to this battle. The teleportation was successful. As planned, the warriors reached the 4th sector. It was hard to believe in the reality of what was happening. Whitepaw reported that relay towers provide living conditions in each sector. These are energy repeaters that use the energy of the branches. However, there was no sign of the presence of the Sephiroth at the 4th base. Blackpaw set about installing the teleportation device. A few soldiers remained to guard her. The rest headed to 3rd base. It was very quiet everywhere. This alarmed the soldiers. The Sephiroths should have noticed the intrusion by now. Rachel the mouse also went with the warriors. To hide this, she teamed up with Ruby and put on a cloak. Soon, the warriors reached the 3rd sector. That place was like a desert. A familiar voice sounded from the side of the relay tower. It was Owl. Regelsa asked why he betrayed his comrades and sided with Remus, and the embodiment of the art of swordsmanship admitted that he never considered them comrades. Then he swung his sword and monsters crawled out of the ground. An entire army of powerful creatures rushed into battle for the blessing of the branches. Owl believed that even Aaron was not capable of dealing with so many monsters. Rachel and Ruby were the first to enter the fray. The mouse used its cheese skill, enhanced by fire. Some of the monsters sank into the hot mass. The warriors began a fierce battle. Everyone gave it their all, chopping down the hideous monsters. Meanwhile, Aaron took Rachel and flew to the relay tower. He wanted to fulfill the mouse's wish, to see Owl. The embodiment of the art of swordsmanship noted that it was unwise to drag children onto the battlefield. But the main character respected Rachel's determination, and so he fulfilled her will. But Aaron really couldn't let the child fight a traitor. The hero remembered how Owl had pierced his chest when they first met in Levatine. And now he wants to repay the debt. The power of the sword and the power of the dragon came together in confrontation. Owl immediately applied the transformation, and now the plastic but sharp blade of the sword wounded Aaron. The protagonist applied more force and hit the enemy. But immediately after that, I felt the power of the Eagle Claw skill. Aaron's next blow stripped Owl of his iron mask. When Aaron first encountered the embodiment of swordsmanship in battle, he was struck by its speed. But now the hero felt that the enemy had weakened. Owl's actions were hesitant. At that moment, a bird sang. It was a monster sitting on a relay tower. With his singing, he endowed Owl with the power of a branch, and then the embodiment of the art of swordsmanship used the eagle dance technique. Thanks to this power, Owl can remotely control multiple swords, and he immediately pointed his weapon at the enemy. Sharp blades wounded the main character, but he didn't stop. In the end, Ulu managed to inflict a deep wound on the enemy. Then Remus's ally showed his wings. It's time for Aaron to change his form too. The main character took the form of a dragon. Owl was the first to attack, but Aaron stopped his sword with a powerful blow. As a result of this collision, Owl's sword shattered into pieces, and the hero did not hesitate. He attacked the enemy again. To defend himself, Sephiroth threw 3 swords at his opponent. The sharp blades dug into Aaron's hand, but he continued his attack and struck the villain. The owl flew some distance and fell to the ground. Rachel rushed towards him, but Ruby stopped her. The embodiment of the sword tried to force himself to get up and continue the fight. But at that moment, the same monster that was sitting on the tower flew to his aid. It was Elena. She's the owner of the branch that Owl guards. Elena was the leader of a squad of Eagle Knights of the Winged Incarnation. She is the embodiment of Dawn, which ruled the birds of prey. On the eve of the launch of the world's horizon, Rem spoke with Owl and Karnun. As a result of half of the Sephiroth being destroyed, he took control of the relay. To ensure the implementation of the plan, it is necessary to use the energy of the towers as efficiently as possible. The embodiment of wings decided to use everyone who received a branch, and so he sent Elena to third base. Owl was indignant, because there was an agreement between them regarding the embodiment of dawn. Rem promised that he would not give up Elena, a failed experiment, if Sephiroth would fulfill the role of spy, but the situation has changed somewhat. The embodiment of dawn used the power of healing for Owl. Sephiroth apologized to her for that. He felt deep guilt towards Elena for the past. Then Owl put on his iron helmet again and transformed into an eagle. Power filled Sephiroth's body and he continued the battle. The first attack was incredibly fast. The sword incarnation cut off the dragon's arm. Aaron prepared for a fierce confrontation. A sharp spike grew on his arm. Owl used the eagle dance technique. The main character spread his wings and rushed into the attack. He managed to deflect the swords that flew towards him, but one of them did wound the dragon's wing. At that moment, Owl dug his sharp claws into the hero's chest. Both of them flew down. To help Aaron, Rachel activated the cheese ability and aimed it at Elena. At the moment of the fall, the main character managed to drive the spire into the enemy's side. Gathering his strength, Owl swung to strike the dragon in the heart. But at the last moment, thanks to the power of the curse, Aaron cut off the attacking hand. The enemy failed to hit the hero's weak spot, but he inflicted enough damage. And now Aaron will need a lot of energy to recover. At that moment, Rachel came running to Owl. She hugged him tightly. The embodiment of the sword apologized to the mouse. She was truly close to him, but Owl was forced to say goodbye again. Finally, he said that Rem was no longer at second base, and then he headed to Elena. Long ago, Rem formed the Order of Eagle Knights. They trained regularly and built up their strength. Over time, Owl felt that he had fallen in love with Commander Elena. She was unbeatable. The man quickly rose to the title of Chief Knight of the Eagles. But what was most important to Owl was Elena's opinion. He tried his best to impress her, and only later did he realize that her heart belonged to the deputy, Datto. Owl focused all his attention on developing his knightly abilities, and in the final test, in a battle against a monster, he once again proved his strength. Soon Elena and Datto got married. Owl tried to be happy that his beloved was happy. However, he never managed to congratulate her. Rem admired the knight's remarkable abilities, and so he gave him part of his powers by applying his emblem to his hand. One day the embodiment of wings gathered all the knights of the order. No one knew the reason for the gathering. Then a monster appeared. The monster screamed and pounced on the commander. At the last moment, Elena managed to jump back. She called Owl for help. Without hesitating for a moment, the man cut off the monster's head. And only then did Elena come to a bitter realization. By order of Remus, all the knights arrived at the meeting. Only one person was missing, Elena's lover, Datto. Without a drop of sympathy, Rem pointed at the monster. Datto tried to reach the top of the knightly order, but was defeated. He could not withstand the blessing of the wings and turned into a monster. Then Remus called on the knights to prove their worth. He promised that he would transform everyone into powerful incarnations who would fulfill his wishes. Then the knights of the birds of prey saw the true essence of the embodiment of wings. Elena called for them to prepare for battle with Remus. Owl tried to stop his comrades because he understood how it would all end. But it was too late. In an instant, the embodiment of wings destroyed all the knights. In desperation, Owl rushed to Elena. His heart was filled with hatred for Rem. But the embodiment of wings immediately reminded Ulu of the emblem on his arm and its power. There was no point in resisting. Then Rem said that he could bring Elena back to life, but she would change somewhat. As a result of that choice, Ula's beloved turned into a monster. And only now did the embodiment of the sword dare to ask her for forgiveness. Elena embraced Ul, and together they drowned in the fire of her power. When the man first saw the creature his beloved had turned into, he was not ready. Owl begged the embodiment of wings to return Elena to her original state, but that was impossible. Even the eagle commander could not withstand the power of the imperfect branch. Rem was going to destroy the monster to save the branch, but Owl begged not to do it. He promised to do anything to embody the wings, as long as he could save Elena's life. 11 years have passed since then. Owl successfully carried out the task of a spy. For his sake, the man changed his appearance somewhat. He also had to burn out the Rem emblem on his arm. And it was all for Elena's sake. From that moment on, Owl was already dead. In the end, Elena also died, having spent all her strength to save the embodiment of the sword. Rachel was in despair. The information that Rem was not at second base somewhat confused the soldiers. However, this area still remains key as it connects all sectors. And so the haters of the winged incarnation decided to hurry to the next base. Aaron was tormented by a stupid premonition. Second base was empty. But I didn't have to be bored. A moment later, a spatial crack appeared. Auron knew full well that this was Basheron's doing. There was no other way out. The soldiers moved into the breach. On the other hand, the embodiment of destruction awaited them. The main character prepared for battle with an unrivaled spear, but Basheron immediately used his destruction skill again. A crack appeared under the soldiers' feet. Everyone fell into an unknown space. Thus, Basheron divided the warriors into different sectors. Byrne found himself in the territory of the fifth Sephiroth, the embodiment of frost. Tarkin's opponent turned out to be Carcass, the embodiment of murder. The magnifying glass fell into the possession of the Scolopendra Keisha. Rachel, Ruby, and Whitepaw met with Ziz, the embodiment of lightning. And Aaron's opponent turned out to be the first place of the Sephiroth, the embodiment of the abyss of Levia. Regelza and her subjects were at third left base. Their opponents turned out to be monsters. A whole crowd of disgusting monsters wanted blood and flesh. Brave warriors entered the battle. At third base right, Byrne struck out the first batter. This time his son looked completely different. It was a semi-mechanized bear. Having created an icy road, the enemy rushed to the attack. Byrne realized that he had no kinship feelings for this creature. The only thing that connects him and Vur is blood. Realizing this, it became easier for Byrne to fight the embodiment of frost. Now nothing is holding him back. However, the enemy has a new skill. At right second base, Lupa was going crazy with the desire to destroy the centipede. Her anger was fueled by the information that Keisha had killed people in Levatine without hesitation. Scolopendra was in no hurry to start fighting. She wanted to make Lupa suffer and enjoy it. Keisha prepared to attack with acid, but she was immediately struck by the she-wolf. The power of the attack was incredible, and Lupa hasn't even changed into her combat uniform yet. Having reached the enemy, the she-wolf finally gave vent to her anger. She grabbed the insect by the head with her teeth. Keisha barely managed to escape, and at left second base, Carcass had already hurt Tarkin pretty badly. Exhausted from the continuous attacks, the embodiment of war fell to the ground. But Carcass didn't want an easy victory. Remembering everything that Remus's vile minions had done, Tarkin found the strength to get up. Moreover, he was ready to continue the fight. Tarkin once had many friends. He had a queen whom he admired. But then Rem appeared and took everything. The desperation of the embodiment of war knew no bounds. But suddenly the young Queen Regelza illuminated his path. Tarkin regained the meaning of life. It was these memories that gave strength to the embodiment of war, and he managed to hit his enemy. Meanwhile, Byrne narrowly avoided a laser attack from Vur. The frost did not stop. But this time, Byrne met him with two powerful blows to the jaw. He realized that the mechanism had added mass to the enemy and slowed his movements, so it was easy to avoid Vur's usual attacks. In addition, using a laser heats the bear's body quite a bit. He must expend divine power to cool down. Rem even considers his loyal servants to be mere bargaining chips, having failed to take this nuance into account. Byrne attacked the enemy. With a powerful blow, he shattered Vur's mechanized jaw. But at that moment, the bear called Byrne Dad. For a moment, the embodiment of valor froze in surprise. But this moment cost him dearly. Vur hit his father in the side with a sharp spike. The wound was very deep, and Byrne fell to the ground. At that moment, he saw the deceased Tosca before him. She held Byrne's hand, and Vur was preparing to deliver the decisive blow. The illusion dissipated. An ice axe appeared in the hand of the embodiment of valor. Despite the unbearable pain, Byrne got up and delivered the blow. In response, Vur bit his father on the neck. He hugged his son and said that Tosca loved him even after death. But the divine weapon told Vuru that these words were worthless. He wanted to use force to break free from his ecstasy. But nothing worked. Byrne's power won, and both bears turned to ice. Now their family is together again. The battle between Carcass and Tarkin reached a new level of brutality. The smell of blood made the embodiment of murder even more furious. He tore the flesh of his opponent with his teeth, and then he used his absorption skill. The skeleton is able to strengthen and regenerate itself through the blood of its enemy. In addition, he has excellent fighting instincts. With new strength, Carcass again attacked Tarkin. The embodiment of war barely managed to block the sword blows. After prolonged pressure from Carcass, Tarkin received another injury. But he didn't give up. Suddenly, one of the enemy's swords broke. But he was not confused and immediately struck with his fist. The frame attacked incredibly quickly. Later, his second sword also broke. Then Tarkin dealt a powerful blow to the enemy. The embodiment of war succumbed to rage. He became a berserker who ultimately burned himself to death. Tarkin, of his own free will, draws upon the power of the evil god. And Carcass really liked it. He likes strong opponents, as long as they are weaker than him, of course. The only weapon left to embody death were the teeth. And so Karkus bit his opponent's hand. He recovered again thanks to Tarkin's blood. And then he continued to tear his flesh with his teeth. But this time the embodiment of war grabbed the enemy by the throat. With powerful blows he leveled the scoundrel to the ground. But even that didn't kill Karkus. The more wounds a berserker receives, the stronger he becomes. The embodiment of death decided to take on a fighting form. In the form of a shark, he tried to devour Tarkin. But the enemy instantly fled the attack. Scolopendra kept trying to hit Lupa with acid. But the she-wolf turned out to be too agile for such attacks and skillfully avoided them. Lupa used the skill Blood Seal. Sharp claws slashed the monster's body. But that wasn't enough to kill Keisha. The Scolopendra left its wounded body and took on a new form. Its size has decreased significantly, but its speed and agility have increased. There is one immutable truth in the world. There can only be one at the top. Now he is a winged incarnation. The strongest creatures are drawn to him for their own reasons. Basheron is looking for the meaning of existence. Leviah is guided by feelings. And Ziz has found an object of admiration. The framework in this regard was wise and rational. He tried to gain a foothold after the one who was at the top. But by killing 2 Sephiroth, he made a terrible mistake. Rem cast the embodiment of murder to the very bottom. But the essence of the shark remained unchanged. He continues to kill the weak and humiliate those who have lost. The frame also has one feature. In shark form, he is able to move even underground. And this skill the Sephiroth used in the battle against Tarkin. The first such attack of the embodiment of war was missed. But with the next one, he stopped the shark's powerful jaws. The frame went out of position, throwing the opponent up. And then he caught it and swallowed it. Before meeting Regelza, Tarkin had one goal in life, to protect his queen. But when Remus killed her, the embodiment of war was overcome with hatred. He felt like he was turning into an evil god. If Regelza had not appeared then, Tarkin would have succumbed to the darkness and turned into a monster. He wanted to find Remus and fast for him, even if he had to become a monster and burn himself to the ground. But Regelza convinced Tarkin not to do this. The only exception is when there is a need to protect people close to your heart. Having fallen into the shark's mouth, Tarkin used the power of a berserker and managed to get out of there. He turned into an evil god. Tarkin felt that now he would definitely defeat the enemy. Taking up his weapon, Levatine's second-in-command was ready to finish the battle. The frame again resorted to moving underground. He attacked from behind. But at that moment, Tarkin struck a powerful counterattack. And immediately the next one is decisive. Part of the shark's body turned into a wet spot. The enemy was finished. It's time to pay for your incredible power. Tarkin went to eternity. The life of a Scolopendra has long consisted of suffering, bloodshed, and hunger. To survive, she was forced to destroy her enemies and devour them. Apart from the thirst for survival, she felt nothing. That was until I met Rem. The winged incarnation gave Keisha a branch. From an ugly monster she turned into a human. Rem himself chose the centipede. This fact prompted Keisha to consider herself special. Scolopendra thought that her thoughts and will could represent the embodiment of wings. But later, Rem showed her where she belonged. The 5th step of the Sephiroth. This is how the embodiment of wings assessed Keisha's strength and skill. Then she saw that Rem possessed absolute power. Compared to him, any human is just a tiny worm. But thanks to the embodiment of wings, Keisha has new feelings. And she thought it was love. Lupa explained that the centipede was mistaken. The feelings described by the Sephiroth are called fear. The wolf herself only recently learned what love is. She is filled with this feeling towards Aaron. And now Lupa is ready to do anything to make the dream of her dear person come true. Hearing this, the centipede went crazy. She attacked and managed to injure her opponent. The insect's movements accelerated significantly, but the blows were not very strong. Lupa guessed that Keisha was conserving her strength for the killing blow. Sephiroth moved haphazardly. But thanks to her sense of smell, the she-wolf was able to track down the enemy and strike. The main weapon of the Scolopendra is its poison. Keisha began to attack more actively. The she-wolf tried to avoid being hit, but in the end, Lupa did receive many minor injuries. Scolopendra noticed that something was wrong. The wolf should have fallen from her feet from so many wounds from poisonous stings, but she held on. The centipede has become even more aggressive, and then she approached Lupa to deliver the final blow. Keisha concentrated all her power in the skill Poison Blast, and after a successful attack, she was already savoring victory. Only it turned out to be fake. Lupa managed to survive the fatal blow, and all thanks to Nadia's protective spell. The embodiment of nature inflicted it on the body of a she-wolf during the battle for Valkyrie. The space of the cave was filled with Nadi's aura. This energy was painfully familiar to the Scolopendra. And then Lupa dealt the enemy a fatal blow. She tore the winged embodiment branch from Keisha's chest. At one of the bases, Basheron pondered the meaning of his existence. Having a heart means life. The demon is a creation of death itself. But why then does Basheron have a heart? The horizon of the world will soon be opened. Rem promised that after that Basheron would receive an answer. But the demon was tormented by doubt. What if he can't solve this mystery even then? Meanwhile, Ziz, the embodiment of lightning, went crazy at his base. Whitepaw barely managed to avoid the electric shocks, saving Ruby and Rachel. The rabbit had to use the power of the sphere to escape. She soon found a place between the rocks to hide from the attacks for a while. Whitepaw was going to move to 4th base to Blackpaw to save the children. Ruby wanted to get to Aaron. However, it was impossible to determine its location. Then Rachel said she didn't want to run away. She decided to help her friends and join the fight. Ruby supported her. These two are reunited. The essence of the divine beast's power lies in merging and fulfilling the wishes of its friends. Whitepaw warned Rachel that the enemy was incredibly strong. But the mouse did not back down from its intention. The incarnation of lightning was already starting to get bored. But then a huge cheese mouse appeared, shaped by Rachel's skill. Aran encountered the first place of the Sephiroth, the embodiment of the abyss, in the midst of the lunar sea. She is Rem's strongest servant. The boy immediately took on the form of a dragon. He managed to repel the first attack of the water currents. Levia's second attempt to impress the hero also failed. Aaron spread his wings and was about to devour the enemy, but he was stopped by a wall of water. Then the stormy waves dragged the main character into the water. The embodiment of the abyss took the fighting form of the serpent Leviatine, and that was a very bad development. Aaron attacked the enemy with bloody claws. He put in a lot of effort, but did not get the desired result. Leviathan activated the skill Abyss Storm. The powerful water stream hit the hero's wings hard. Aaron's anger flared even more. He took on a new reinforced form. In response, Levia also decided to show her true power. She used Sea Serpent Breath. Aaron attacked with fire energy. In this clash, the embodiment of the abyss gained the upper hand. The main character was defeated again. But he didn't give up. The mighty dragon approached the enemy. With sharp teeth, he grabbed Levia by the neck. Then the snake wrapped itself around the enemy's body and squeezed him. Aaron was forced to let go. The abyssal incarnation prepared to use Sea Serpent's breath again. But the powerful energy of Az-Dahak's curse prevented her. Then Levia used the power of the abyss. The hero began to fall rapidly downward. Aaron felt the incredible pressure of unfathomable depths on himself, and his body could not stand it. All that was left of the dragon was its heart. It is the source of the protagonist's regeneration. Levia prepared to destroy the remains of the dragon, but at the last moment the transformation of the cursed energy began. Az-Dahaka herself appeared. He instantly neutralized the water snake's attack. The embodiment of demonic power was very irritated. Levia felt an insatiable desire to kill from the enemy. Az-Dahaka attacked. An incredible firepower engulfed the embodiment of the abyss. Levia suffered enormous damage, but survived. And all because she is a divine beast. But it's time to end the fight. An embodiment of demonic power grabbed Levia by the throat. The duel with the best representative of the wing incarnation added confidence to Az-Dahak. Now the dragon had no doubt that she could defeat Rem, but she wondered what made the divine beast follow the scoundrel. And Levia explained that he had freed her from loneliness. As a token of gratitude, the embodiment of the abyss wanted to fulfill the cherished wish of the embodiment of the wings. But the only thing Rem wanted was to understand the human heart. He intended to do this by finding the origins of humanity. This wish was all it took to make the wings come true, and Levia began to feel lonely again. She envied the connection between Aaron and Az-Dahaka, and this only angered the dragon. At that very moment, Az-Dahaka was swallowed by the embodiment of the abyss. While the black dragon had control of the body, Aaron was in her subconscious. There he found a skeleton. These were the remnants of the true essence of the first incarnation. She showed the hero the truth about himself. In times of violence and bloodshed, Az-Dahaka protected the people of the Red Desert from invaders. The local tribes called her their protector. 2 children survived one of the brutal raids. Noticing them, Az-Dahaka took on human form and approached. Those children were not at all afraid of the dragon and were constantly thanking him for saving them. They were the first to do it. Over time, the Red Desert became almost completely empty. The 6 incarnations that protected the world were killed. The chaos on the continent became unmanageable. Azidahaka continued to protect the desert tribes, and they respected her more and more. Over time, the first incarnation united the saved tribes and began to revive the land. In gratitude, those people began to call themselves descendants of the Black Dragon. Azidahaka did everything for the sake of Aran's ancestors. But the power of demonic nature consumed the first incarnation in endless fury. Azidahaka feared that if she fell into madness, she would bring disaster to this world. And so she decided to seal the source of her power and divine treasure. Leaving her tribe, Azidahaka promised that she would always protect them. Arana has the responsibility to help the first incarnation regain its true essence, but the main character believes that this is impossible. He is used to thinking like that because of the irreversibility of his past. Aran has committed a terrible sin and can no longer change anything. But helping Azidahaka is a hero's duty. At this time, Ziz was throwing lightning bolts. They passed through the cheese mouse but did not harm it. Rachel and Ruby stood on the giant rodent. Then the embodiment of lightning activated the attack from above, and she hit the mouse. In response, Rachel directed the cheese mass at the relay tower to get closer to the enemy. Then the children began to call upon the embodiment of lightning for peace. They questioned the meaning of enmity. But Ziz, reborn from a monster, wanted blood. While the lightning incarnation's attention was focused on the children, Whitepaw teleported behind the enemy's back. At this point, Sephiroth was already preparing to launch his next attack. But then a rabbit caught his attention. Rachel instantly activated the cheese and wrapped it around the enemy's legs. Ziz aimed the lightning at Whitepaw. But the rabbit used its ability to predict the attack and avoided being hit. Then she came close to being the embodiment of lightning. Running past, Whitepaw left a sphere there. This device retains the Pandora's box skill. The maximum firepower stunned Ziz, but the embodiment of lightning withstood it. It even rejoiced that the battle was becoming more fun. Breaking through the barrier formed by the magic sphere, the Sephiroth struck Whitepaw with lightning. Then Ziz took on the fighting form of a bird. He prepared to deliver the final blow to his enemies, but at that moment a spatial crack appeared. Basheron's power struck the embodiment of lightning. The children didn't understand what was happening. Then Basheron himself went down to the relay tower. Without holding back her emotions, Ruby went out to meet the demon to cover Rachel, but the embodiment of destruction did not attack. At this moment, Ziz came to his senses and flew into the air again. He immediately rushed into the attack, but against the embodiment of lightning, Basheron once again used his power. The demonic beast's destructive feathers penetrated the monster's mouth and struck it. In a matter of seconds, Ziz dissolved as if he had never existed. Then Basheron announced the reason he had come. He wanted to learn from the divine beast what the heart is for. Once the embodiment of destruction asked Levia this question, but never received an answer. And so, before the horizon of the world was launched, Basheron decided to ask Ruby's opinion. And the lizard said that a heart is needed to see the right path. It indicates how to act. Ruby always wishes happiness to her loved ones. And this desire is so strong that it makes the heart stop. This is the meaning of life. Having learned the truth, Basheron still did not understand why he existed. He had no such desires. Meanwhile, on the right wing of the first base, Karnun created an altar to perform the ritual. He couldn't wait to open the horizon of the world. But a struggle was still raging in his subconscious. Nadia still didn't give up. She tried to attack again and again. So far, she has managed to hold back the black shoots of Karnun. But the evil god did not use all his power. He didn't want to hurt Nadia, but the persistence of her attacks forced Karnun to take action. Nadia tried to reach the embodiment of witchcraft verbally. She asked him to come to his senses. The girl noted that turning away from the losses would still not save the dead. To silence Nadia, Karnun pierced her through and through. And then, after apologizing, Karnun opened his mouth to swallow his light side. But at the last moment, she said that she only wanted to comfort the wounded heart of the embodiment of witchcraft. Nadia found herself in the middle of a green forest. She didn't know what kind of place it was. The girl could not control her own body. And then she realized that she was in Karnun's memories. She saw his original form before her. It was a noble deer in human form. Rem had calculated everything down to the smallest detail in his plan. Even the defeat of the subjects did not affect the situation. The only thing that came as a surprise to him was Basheron's betrayal, and the embodiment of wings was going to eliminate the traitor. Soon the tree of the Sephiroth will sprout. Rem disconnected from the power system to solve the problem. Nadia was still in Karnun's memories. She saw him walking with the embodiment of witchcraft through the great forest as if they were friends. But in reality it wasn't Nadia, but Alethea. One day, Karnun heard children's laughter in the great forest. It belonged to a baby with heavenly eyes. The child was all alone. Karnun gave her the name Alethea, which means truth. From then on, their journey together began. Karnun was like a father to Alethea. The girl was taken in by a large forest. The spirits blessed her. Alethea prayed fervently all the time that peace would reign in every life on earth. With her purity, she warmed Karnun's heart. Alethea could always see when something was bothering the embodiment of witchcraft, and once the reason for this was the attack of the troops of the first incarnation of the Laoga War. Karnun learned of this early on and therefore asked Alethea to leave the great forest. He wanted to protect the child, but the girl, who considered the forest her home and Karnun her father, couldn't just leave. Despite the insistence of the embodiment of witchcraft, Alethea decided to stay and protect her home. The girl could not survive that battle. It was a terrible loss for Karnun. He regretted not stopping that child, and he blamed himself for her death. Then Karnun made a pact with the embodiment of wings and was reborn. He wanted to get a branch and open the horizon of the world, and all in order to bring Alethea back. This uncontrollable desire gave birth to Nadia in the subconscious. That is why the memories of the incarnation of nature begin with a world in which there is a sea of blood and corpses. The girl did not understand why she was being pursued by a terrible monster. I didn't know who she was. And why did Rem appear in that world like a savior? But now, after seeing Karnun's memories, everything became clear. Nadia is all that is good that remains from the first true incarnation of witchcraft. His only good wish. Awareness of her own nature gave Nadia incredible strength. She managed to escape from Karnun although he had completely absorbed her. And all because for her sake, the embodiment of witchcraft and sought to open the horizon of the world. Nadia reappeared in Karnun's mind. The girl realized that she wouldn't be able to comfort him, so she simply promised that she would always be there for him. This is exactly what Alethea would want. In the afterlife, she misses Karnun very much. Upon learning of this, the evil spirit embodying witchcraft began to dissolve. He went to the world where Alethea had long ago gone. Only Nadia remained conscious. The anger and hatred left her body. A subconscious conversation also took place between Azai Dahaka and Aran. The dragon admitted that she enjoyed seeing the main character being cruelly insulted, but this time Aaron did not respond to the dragon in kind. Instead, he knelt down in front of her and apologized. Because of the protagonist's choice, both received incurable wounds. Aaron's remorse angered Azai Dahak even more. She grabbed the guy by the throat and said it didn't mean anything. The dragon will not be able to forget the enmity between them, and they also cannot exist together. One of them has to die. But Aaron didn't apologize to absolve himself of responsibility. Azai Dahaka had already taken control of his body. The guy only wanted revenge from his own hand. He asked the dragon to borrow his strength and use his hatred for him as fuel for battle. Meanwhile, Basheron moved Whitepaw and the children to the main base. Ruby felt that this demon was in great pain. The embodiment of destruction created a spatial crack in the sector containing the main character. Aaron entered the main base. Azai Dahak's aura immediately filled the space. Basheron prepared for battle. Filled with the energy of the curse, the protagonist rushed into the attack. He managed to deliver a powerful blow to the demon. At that moment, Aaron noticed the children and Whitepaw. He was very glad that everything was okay with them. Basheron attacked. He took on a new, stronger form. There are strong people in this world who are obsessed with their own power, but the weak who are oppressed by this force and resist it. That is why life is a struggle. The third battle between Basheron and Aran began, and she will be the last. Two opposing forces once again came together in confrontation. The demon managed to strike. Then he prepared to launch an attack with his feathers. Ruby had already seen how it worked, and so she warned Aaron about the danger. The main character has taken on a new form. He used the skill of the Serpent Lord. Maneuvering between the columns, Aaron managed to avoid the enemy's line. Picking the right moment, he generated a black hole and approached the enemy. But Basheron stopped the hero with the power of destruction. She neutralized the effect of Aaron's skill, but the dragon immediately struck a powerful blow with its claws. Basheron grabbed his opponent and pushed him into the ground, and then he struck destruction. Thanks to the power of Gon's unrivaled shield, Aaron managed to survive. But now Basheron has bound him with feathers. He thought the battle was over, but it wasn't over yet. Aaron began the transformation. It took him a while to master the skills of the absorbed Levia. But the hero managed to do it, and now has acquired a completely new form of embodiment of the abyss. The dragon immediately used Sea Serpent's breath. An abyss formed in the earth, into which Basheron disappeared. But Eren knew that he had not yet won. The demon has not yet shown its full power. Having acquired maximum reinforcement, Basheron climbed out of the abyss. In this battle, it is not the strength of the species that will win, but the desire to defeat your enemy by any means necessary.